6 a.m. in the Mile High. Good morning, Denver, Colorado. It is a big day as Donald Trump and Joe Biden go at it later this evening on CNN. We've been waiting for this. This is what were the old lines? You're an old Billy. You're an old wrestling guy, boxing guy. Was the Rumble in Manila or the Rumble down
in the Jungle?
Under? The Rumble down under. Jungle.
Yeah, you can always go with WrestleMania. You can go with War Games. There are all sorts of things you can do. It's not quite Backlash yet, but there could be a lot of little fun. The wrestling, they must have to give it a stupid name in the wrestling pay-per-view. So it's always some sort of special name.
I wish there was a special name for this one.
Yeah, this would be nice. Honestly, what I wish is that you'd get like one of the wrestling announcers that would bring them out on, because they're much more dramatic. There's much more. Yeah, I mean, there's a team, New Age Outlaws, back in the 90s, if anybody was remembering, where a guy by the name of Road Dogg would come out and he would start off and go, "Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, we proudly bring to you." And it was a great little open, and everybody in the crowd started yelling along, and that would be the way to do it. That would be how cool would that be?
I was on that point, on this exact point, Billy. I was on Jen Ellis's show last night, and we were doing a panel discussion on what we want to see out of the debate.
Ooh, yeah.
And I was one of the persons on the debate on the panel discussion was Vivek Ramaswamy's National Grassroots Director.
Oh, cool.
And she goes, and rightfully so, says, "I would like to have a policy discussion, getting into the issues that matter most to us." And I was thinking in my head, and I basically said, boring.
Yes, exactly. Yes, it will be boring.
I mean, if that is what you want, there's plenty of PBS and C-SPAN channels to fulfill all your desires. I want them walking out like it's an MMA fight, baby. Come on, get after it.
The thing is that I have been persuaded that your approach is going to be much more entertaining. I would prefer to hear the policy talk, but then I had to check myself and say, wait, do you want to hear Biden and Trump try to do policy talk for like 90 minutes? No, you don't. No, you don't. Let's do the fun stuff. So I agree. I think you are right. In fact, I would love to see CNN go full bore and actually lean into some of the aspects of professional wrestling. Yes. I'm talking 2 entrance tunnels. Yeah. One on each side.
Smoke.
Oh, absolutely. You've got to have the smoke. You've got to have the lights around the side that are coming. And each guy gets to pick their own music to come out on. And so you kind of have this theme song you come out on. And if we really want to do it, I mean, again, this would be me. I would do it because I have very little shame. I would even do the big, long Ric Flair wrestling robe.
Yes.
Whatever you have to do, just come on out and spin and then wave your arms and have something like, and if you're really smart, you have some sort of big saying on the back.
So, friend of the show, Jenna Ellis asked, are we into Neil Postman's? You're kind of a philosophy guy, just amusing ourselves to death.
Yeah.
Like we are so past in-depth conversations with regards to policy that we just entertain ourselves to death. Yes. And I go, look, in many ways we used to have television brain. Now we have TikTok brain.
Yes.
We are in such short increments, and you go watch those man on the streets. We're not having in-depth policy discussions.
No.
They hardly know we have 3 branches of government.
Yes.
You want to get into, trade and tariff policy discussions and have people make voting decisions based upon it?
This is, when's the last time you've seen someone on TikTok standing there and going, okay, I'm going to cabbage patch while I'm telling you what the difference are in the marginal interest rates. Like, hey, wait, hang on. It's like, no one's sitting there doing the dances going, this is why debt is bad for the gut. And you're like, no, stop that. No one cares. It doesn't matter. So that's why you couldn't pay attention in class in school, but you could pay attention to the stuff that your buddy was goofing around with. That's why you doodled on your paper. Same thing. Yeah.
So today is the debate. We're going to get into it. We got some rules you'll never believe. These rules that CNN has set up.
There was one thing that I did appreciate, and all the long drawn out, and we'll get to it. That I was like, oh, okay, that was kind of cool. Like, could have done that quicker. I didn't have to do the whole self-aggrandizing bit, but I was like, okay, that was cool. That helped. But other than that, we'll get
CNN is going to give us insight into what it's like to have your microphone cut off.
Yes.
We'll play that audio in just a second. Let's check in on the news with Blake Olson. Good morning, Blake.
Hey, good morning, guys. Atlanta, I've been thinking about this, but Atlanta's kind of known. They call it Hot Atlanta, and Georgia's known for peaches. It's like peach tree. There's like 1,000 peach tree streets. I can't come up with a good name for this, though, because Atlanta's known for a fire, heat, hot, something like, so
yeah, you could
maybe
even
we can come up with some.
You could do something about, debate in hot Atlanta, or, the heat in Atlanta, or the heat in hot Atlanta. Yeah, the Inferno. That's a good one.
The political inferno.
And then you got to have the flames in background.
Yes, absolutely.
Yes.
I love it. And
how could that be? You can put, like they do at concerts at Kiss shows. You have that like fire things.
Yes.
So as they walk out, goes poof, poof.
Yes.
Yeah, flames in the front.
Absolutely.
They need to let us produce this.
And both of them in those Mexican head masks.
Oh, the Lucha Libre masks.
Yes.
Oh my
what
God.
are they called again?
Those would be amazing.
Yeah.
Let's get the fire going.
They're called Lucha Libre masks.
Lucha Libre.
And that's funny.
Right.
And it's great because that mask, there's a culture entirely behind it inside of the Hispanic and Central South American wrestling culture where that becomes a second persona. It becomes your persona. So you could actually have them representing different personas about who they are politically in like superhero, because they're supposed to be like superhero identities. Oh, Blake, you're the best. I love that, man.
Well, we'll figure it out by the end of the show. Hey, and also I'm going to tease this maybe later in the show. I think I came up, I stumbled upon some secret Jake Tapper audio that probably in a couple hours we may have that.
Hey, I love that.
There's a little teaser. 63 and partly cloudy. Good morning, guys, in Denver, and expecting highs in the low 90s today. The 7-10 5-day forecast coming up. Our top story.
The worst president America has ever had.
China ate your lunch, Joe.
He's the racist.
You have treated the black community about as bad as anybody in this country.
Everybody knows he's a liar.
Hey, no matter what happens tonight in the CNN debate, Democratic leaders evidently trying to tell donors not to worry about President Biden because former President Obama is in charge. New York Magazine with a long article Wednesday getting to that point. My guess let's see. I think it's down to 19 days now. That's my guess. He's going to be out in 19 days. We shall see.
Should I be tough and nasty and just say you're the worst president in history, or should I be nice and calm and let him speak?
See, I told you, nobody wants to listen to a policy discussion except for talking heads, man.
Maybe that'll last for about 18 minutes, maybe.
Yeah, no, get after it. Come on, baby.
All right, House Speaker Mike Johnston.
Everybody wants to know which Joe Biden's going to show up. And look, my summary is this. It doesn't matter if he drinks a whole gallon of energy drinks. He's not going to be able to match the acumen and the readiness of Donald Trump. And that's what we expect. Like many, I look forward to hearing Donald Trump lay out his vision for the country. It's a positive vision. It's a forward vision. He is excited. I talked to him, spent a lot of time with him last week down in Mar-a-Lago, and then on the phone over the weekend, and he's in a very good place.
Johnson added he believes the debate will really be Trump versus Biden and the two CNN moderators, as we all know. And then there's messy NBC Joy Reid.
The thing is, this is the question: are y'all as offended as I am about the fact that it's possible for this person who is a felon and an adjudicated sexual assaulter to stand next to the actual president and and we're supposed to take him seriously like that? There's something deeply offensive about that.
I wish you would debate her. I think she shaved her Trump head or Trump hair, right? She took it off. I think she's all shaven now. I haven't seen her. I've just heard audio. Oh, she's fun. It looks like the Supreme Court is leaning toward allowing emergency abortions. That's based on a document accidentally posted online Wednesday. Bloomberg obtained the document relating to a pending Idaho abortion case before it was taken down. The document reportedly shows the court will allow emergency room doctors in the state to perform abortions. Health officials have confirmed Colorado's first West Nile virus case of 2024. The case was in Arapahoe County, and experts say having a West Nile case this early in the year is cause for concern, as the first confirmed cases usually don't happen until late summer. Arapahoe County Public Health says that Coloradans should take precautions, including wearing bug spray, wearing long clothing, and staying indoors at dusk and dawn. Last year was one of the worst in Colorado for West Nile virus, resulting in 383 hospitalizations and 50 deaths.
Blake, I had a
Yes.
close buddy I've had two of them actually get West Nile.
Is that right?
And in both cases, these guys very fit, probably in their late 60s, are going to maybe probably spend the rest of their lives in a wheelchair.
Oh, man.
I mean,
So-
they were outside, they were active, they got bit by a mosquito, and it just took them out probably for the rest of their lives. It's crazy what that does.
It's horrible, man.
And up by you, it's worse. You get to northern Colorado.
I know.
That's where they all are.
My son just took the dog out, and the sun's coming up, and I'm like, man, I gotta go get some off or something, to spray. That's horrible, man. A kayaker who was reported missing in Larimer County has been found dead. Authorities say the man left home to go kayaking Tuesday, but he never returned. Search crews were sent to the Lon Hagler Reservoir near Loveland to search for him, and they found his body there Wednesday evening. The man's identity has not been released, and there's no word yet on how he died. Denver police investigating a violent robbery at the Joyeria El Ruby jewelry store. It happened earlier this week when 8 armed suspects entered the business, threatened staff and customers at gunpoint, and stole $2.5 million worth of jewelry. Surveillance video shows a suspect pistol whipping one of the employees. Images of the suspects have been released to the public, and anyone who recognizes them should contact Metro Denver Crime Stoppers. Got to get them.
Blake, when I was in college, we're walking around. It's probably 10 o'clock at night. We're downtown Santa Barbara, and we come across a ring on the ground, and we're like, whoa, this is crazy. It's still got a price tag attached to it. Then we walk a little bit further, and there's a necklace. And then there was a bracelet, and we had missed a jewelry store robbery by about 30 seconds.
Are you
We had turned the
kidding me?
corner, and these guys had been running out of the jewelry store, dropping jewelry on the way out.
Wow.
But it was all over the sidewalk.
That's
and we're like,
crazy.
what? Do we pick this up?
Yeah.
Like, do we call? What do we do? And then
Yeah.
we ended up connecting with the police there. But
That's
we missed those guys
that's
by about
amazing.
30 seconds.
Thank God. You never know, man.
Right.
Jeez, that is just horrible, though. I got to find these people. So it was probably what'd you do? You called and turned it in, right?
Yeah, right.
Yeah,
Of
man,
course, we had
crazy.
turned in all of it. I was
Yeah,
only a
thank
poor
God.
college student, but no.
Yeah, no kidding. Yeah, exactly, Jeff.
They wouldn't notice one missing, would they?
Exactly. Oh, man. News brought to you by Lair Fireplace and Patio, Denver's premier source for everything fireplace, patio, and grills. Locally owned and operated since 1954. Online at lairfireplacepatio.com.
And with the 17th pick in the 2024 NBA Draft, the Los Angeles Lakers select Dalton Connect from the University of Tennessee.
Wow, that is a huge story. Dalton Connect from Prairie View High School here in Colorado and Northeastern Junior College Sterling and UNC in Greeley, then transferred to Tennessee for 1 year, now a Laker. Wow, big deal for him, and congratulations to him. With a name like Connect, he's a shooter. Greatest name, one of the greatest names in sports right now. CU's Cody Williams and Tristan Da Silva also drafted. Nuggets acquire power forward Deron Holmes in a trade.
The Astros back at 500 1 week later. But here they are. For the first time in 2024, the Astros can call themselves a 500 baseball.
That's because they beat the Rockies 7-1. The Rockies take on the White Sox tomorrow. 59 in Arvada, 61 in Lone Tree, 63 in Denver. And Jeff and Billy continue debate day Thursday. Blake Olson, News Talk 710 KNUS.
KNUS forecast calls for 60s early this Thursday, quickly warming in the 70s and 80s. Highs today and again Friday, generally low 90s. Building afternoon storm clouds, some scattered strong to perhaps a few severe thunderstorms, especially off to the east. Hit and miss storms Friday. Milder Saturday thanks to a passing cool front Friday night. Readings stay in the 80s. It'll be dry to mostly dry, 90s Sunday. I'm meteorologist Mark Hewer in the KNUS Weather Center. Weather sponsored by Branch Planning. Some income annuities are paying 25 to 45% more than last year. Get a free
stream your favorite shows. Tap the app to listen to podcasts. Text message your favorite local hosts. Call the show. Get the latest headlines and enter contests to win prizes. All in the palm of your hand. Available now for iOS and Android devices in the App Store or Google Play. And best of all, it's free. Download today.
We got a great show for you this morning. You're not going to want to miss a minute of it. We'll talk debate preparation here first, and then we're going to get into these 400 migrants that were being smuggled in by an ISIS-affiliated network into this country. If you missed the news on that, you're going to want to get these details. And then the House voting to get Alejandro Mayorkas' salary down to $1. Yes, they actually passed an amendment to do that yesterday. Gabe Evans, who won the Republican nomination for Congressional District 8, will join us in the 8 o'clock hour. And then Dustin Zvonek, Aurora Mayor Pro Tem at Large. I have no idea what that means.
What the hell?
And I looked up Mayor Pro Tem, and it says mayor.
Yeah.
But he's not the mayor.
Normally the Pro Tem is the one that is coming in. So, but I was like, is that I don't.
He'd make a great income.
He'd be fantastic. But yeah, normally Pro Tem is like the fill-in type of thing. I don't think so either. So we got to ask him what the funny thing.
Well, that's going to be our first question to Dustin.
We're so confused.
Friend of the show. He's given us some updates on some resolutions they've been passed in the city of Aurora. We'll get into that in the 9 o'clock hour. And then a little bit of regret happening out there, Billy, from those that have purchased electric vehicles.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
About half of them looking to go back to gas.
Yeah, because the infrastructure is not there. That's the major problem. That is the pain point, is the infrastructure. If we had charging stations like you had gas stations and they would charge quickly, that'd make sense. It would work. And the other one would be
charging quickly. Yes. Yeah. Charging quickly.
Yeah, but charging stations, you need the stations. Here's the idea. How excited would you be about your internal combustion engine if you had the same number of gas stations as you had charging stations? You didn't have one so convenient to your house. You didn't have 5 or 6 in the way that you're driving into work. You found one. It'd be a totally different game.
Electric cars make sense for in my mind, as daily drivers. Oh, yeah. If at every night you're going to plug it in, and then you take it to the same place every morning.
Yeah, makes total sense.
And even
short
drive
commutes.
It back.
Yeah, short commutes inside of cities, things like that.
Right.
Longer driving, it's much more difficult.
I know there's people that want to drive across the country in their electrical cars. They have to spend like an hour and a half sitting there charging.
That's just dumb because of how long it takes to charge at those facilities. And again, I talked about. I have a friend that's a driver for Uber and Lyft, and he had one electric vehicle and then changed because he went with a Kia, because the Kias can use the fast charging stations. And he's like, the only other ones that can. So he goes, that's the one we did. Because as he was sitting there at the charging station, he was watching the other people leave earlier. And he was like, what cars did they have? So he only owned the other one for less than a year. Sold that one and bought the other one. And he's like, much happier. He said, yeah, that is the difference.
So lots of news to cover today. I want to get into debate preparation tonight, 7 p.m. Mountain Time on CNN. Joe Biden, Donald Trump, Jake Tapper, Dana Bash, all together with no studio audience, which is unique. And is Donald Trump's vice presidential pick going to be there? He said yes, but he hasn't revealed who it is yet.
He said he had a pick in January. Again, he's really, really good. It's in many ways, it's just like Elon Musk. He's really good at floating these ideas that don't ever have to happen because nobody holds him accountable. Nobody holds Elon accountable for the fact that he's been promising a roadster for 5 or 6 years now. And then nobody holds him accountable for that. No one holds Elon accountable for the fact that he's been promising robo-taxis for at least 4 years. That stuff's not showing up anytime soon.
Robo-taxis like in What movie was it that had robo taxis?
Oh, I'd have to think. But yeah, it's just they're automated taxis. He's been promising that for like 4 years now. They're not even coming. But he just recently, I think, floated the idea again to make sure the stock price doesn't fall. Yeah, absolutely. That's what they do. They float this idea. Trump's been floating since January.
Billy has an Elon Musk burr under his saddle.
Oh, yeah, I do. Yeah, that's the guy. I mean, again, he's a clown. Again, very smart in his lane, but he's a clown. He's an absolute clown.
Here are the debate rules from CNN, giving you a little insight into what the candidates are going to see today.
Welcome to the set of the CNN presidential debate. We want to give our viewers a sense of the rules of the debate so that when they watch it, they can understand how President Biden and President Trump will be engaging with each other. Just after 9 p.m. Eastern, President Biden will enter from the right side of your screen. President Trump will enter from the left side of your screen. The podiums are 8 feet apart. Directly across from them, the moderators, CNN's Jake Tapper and Dana Bash. Now, a reminder, this is a television studio. There's no audience. Candidates will have 2 minutes to answer questions and 1 minute for responses and rebuttals. At the moderator's discretion, there may be an additional minute for follow-ups, clarifications, or responses. So how does a candidate know how much time is left to speak? Attached to the cameras in the studio and in the candidate's field of view are the timing lights. When the lights show yellow, there are 15 seconds left in a candidate's answer or response. When the lights flash red, there are 5 seconds left. And when the display is solid red, the time is up. At that point, the candidate's microphone will be turned off, and the other candidate will have their microphone turned on. My colleague, Victor Blackwell, has more on that.
Thank you, Phil. If we go behind the podiums, you can see 2 green lights. When they're on, they signal to the candidate his microphone is on. When the green lights are off, they signal to the candidate his microphone is off. Now I want to give you a sense of what it will look like for viewers at home if a candidate whose microphone is off interrupts a candidate whose microphone is on. So I'm standing at one podium, and I'll ask Phil to come in and take the other podium. And so let's say I'm answering a question. My light is green, and I'm speaking. Phil's microphone is off, and his green lights are not illuminated. He's going to interrupt me as I'm speaking, and this is what it will sound like. My volume remains constant, while Phil's interruption can be difficult to understand.
Let's try the opposite. My microphone is now on. Victor's microphone is off, and he's going to interrupt me. My volume remains constant, while Victor's interruption can be difficult to understand. We should note, by agreeing to participate in this debate, both campaigns and candidates have also agreed to abide by these rules. The CNN presidential debate airs live at 9 p.m. Eastern.
All right, so that's tonight. What are you looking for? Give me a call, 303-696-1971. How do you want the debate to go down? Who do you think is going to win? Is Donald Trump going to get a fair shake from those 2 moderators, Dana Bash and Jake Tapper?
I like the fact we found out about the microphones, though.
Yeah.
I like that. That was the one thing that was there. I was like, okay, good. It makes me understand what it's going to sound like.
Oh,
yeah.
It sounds so lame.
Well,
I mean, come on. No studio audience.
That's very smart.
No ability to play.
Smart.
Yeah, if you want to go against Donald Trump's better in front of an audience. I think he does. I think he feeds off the energy and reads the crowd and all that.
Here's the problem is, and I complained about this. We can go back to my complaints about high school graduation and how we have forgotten how to behave in public. Many of us have forgotten what happens when you're supposed to be out in public. And I believe that the debate audiences have turned into pro wrestling audiences. Now, I love me a pro wrestling audience because it is a vaudevillian morality play. And the audience is supposed to be part of the participation because that's part of the agreement when you get there, that the people inside the ring are looking for the audience reaction and they're trying to get it from you. Yeah. That's part of the dance that is going on. That's not what should be happening inside a debate. What makes me mad is the crowd derails the time, takes up energy, and derails discussions because we've forgotten how to behave in public. And that's the issue, is you're showing up at a debate. You're not showing up at a professional wrestling match.
I disagree on this one.
Yeah?
I disagree.
Okay, tell me why.
So, look, I think it's Friday night on PBS here in Colorado, you have an in-studio debate. I'm trying to remember the name of it. It's something Independent Colorado or Colorado Voice or Colorado Perspective. Every week, you can watch a genteel in-studio discussion about the issues that matter most to the people of Colorado. And Billy, it's boring.
Well,
come on, get the people involved. Get the two candidates out there. I want to hear hooting and hollering and yelling. And I want them coming in from the sides with smoke. And yes, it should look like an MMA fight. And people are going to text in. I know they are. Jeff, this is a presidential debate of the highest esteem between the biggest names representing two esteemed parties on the issues that matter most to the people of this country. It should be taken with sincerity and reverence. And no, we have that as someone who is a political follower, political policy nerd. I sit there and I can watch C-SPAN, Washington Week all the time. No, this has got to be a debate that reaches the low information voter with entertainment and one-liners and a little bit of gotcha. That's what I want to see.
So tell me how the example that you gave about the Friday evening debates, how would that be enhanced or made better with a studio audience? What dynamic do they add that makes that discussion more interesting? And the reason why, what I lay at is the people doing the debate. That's your fault. You're on the stage and doing the debate, and it's all boring. That's on you. That's on you because you're the performer in the center of the ring. Yeah, that's it. So I don't understand the dynamic. How does it enhance it?
There are people who really want good policy debate.
Yeah, absolutely.
And they get to tune in small numbers.
Yeah.
May I add? But they get to tune in to C-SPAN or PBS and watch that.
Yeah.
So I don't think you can take that and try to force it on 70 million people and expect them to actually get much out of it because it already exists and nobody watches it.
Yeah. See, I
want there's got to be a little flair. Now, I'm not saying this just becomes all pro wrestling.
Yeah.
But there's got to be a little entertainment value there. You don't have an audience to be able to do that.
For me, the entertainment value it should be dependent upon Biden and Trump. And we should be able to get that out of the two of them, especially with Trump.
Okay.
And that's what I think delivers. The thing for me is the audience has become too much of a distraction and negative. Some of the previous, even town halls and other things, the audience has decided that they get to participate in the debate. And you don't. That's not why you are there, and it's not the situation. No, the audience the audience does not do. And here's the idea: would it be okay to have them? Then what you would do is if during the middle of the debate someone stands up and a group of people start standing there and chanting something about Palestine. Do we get to stop the entire debate and just let them continue? Because the audience gets to participate.
Billy, where I wonder if this is a generational difference.
Yeah.
I enjoy, and I subscribe to it, when Charlie Kirk and Michael Knowles and the rest of them go to college campuses. And you get that. You get the audience that steps up and asks questions, and they go back and forth and discuss. Well, I enjoy that.
That's the audience stepping up and asking questions is different than giving the audience a voice without doing that. And that's where I push back is I don't want that professional wrestling audience. If we want to have a section where you pull up and you have questions from the audience, and you want to have that as a piece of it, sure, absolutely, go for it. I would love to see that happen because it takes the questions out of the debate.
Open mic.
But again, the problem is that would be the problem is that we can't. Again, I go back to my fundamental principle. We've forgotten how to behave in public. If we could be trusted in front of a microphone, yes. But that is not going to happen. We have a long history of everything from Howard Stern to crank yankers to even, jokes that you and I both played when we were in our early preteens on the phone. So we understand that when you have national, cameras on you, the urge to do something outrageous just to go viral. We still have people that get naked and run across
fields. But Billy,
fields.
Here's a really good point from Joan.
Yeah.
She wants to know, you do trivia all the time. Don't you like the audience participation and engagement?
If it depends on how. I'm not looking for pro wrestling audience engagement. I'm looking for them to cheer, and I'm looking for them to like things and that's fine for me. But it has become too interactive. And that's the problem is if the audience that I'm doing the trivia starts getting mad at me, yelling me, don't do that or that's not that, then I'm like, okay, I'm shutting you down. I don't care. I will shut you off. I have a couple of times. Yeah, I've had a couple of times saying
just a little too much drinking. And...
Yeah, and I had one guy that I'm like, there's only one of us here that has a microphone, right? So you got to pay attention to me. Thanks for the help, but just be quiet. So yeah,
Billy, shut him down.
Again, you've got the microphone in the bit, and there's never going to be. It's just like when you heckle the comedian. It's never going to think you're going to win because he has the stage, the microphone, and the lights. It's a power dynamic you simply can't win.
Can't overcome.
Can't win it.
All right, let's go to Tony in Littleton. Tony, you're on the Jeff and Bill show. What do you want to see tonight in the debate? What are you looking forward to?
Well, a couple things. There are a couple other interesting rules. One, they cannot talk to their advisors. There's two breaks. There's two television breaks, and they, probably use the restroom or whatever. But they cannot, once they leave, they cannot talk to an advisor at any time during the 90 minutes. Two, they cannot take in any notes. I think CNN is providing them with a pad and a pen so they can make notes while the other guy's talking.
It's the Amy Coney Barrett testimony. You remember when she famously held up the notepad? That's all she had, no more notes. So you're exactly right, Tony. Those are some additional rules.
And so this is also very similar to the Kennedy-Nixon debates. I mean, if you're saying, what was that like? Those were debates that were no audience, the earliest debates that were ever had, I believe, and no audience. And this puts extreme pressure on both of them because they're going to be asked a question. Nobody's interrupting. There's no crowd that's, hooting or hollering about any issue. You get asked a question and you got 2 minutes to talk about it. Now, this could show a lot of weakness. You could say potentially Biden, maybe he stumbles or stops or something. And Trump, on the other hand, God knows what he might talk about. Talk about the economy for 30 seconds and then start talking about sharks and batteries. And this puts a lot of pressure on both of them. What I'm expecting
Tony,
to see.
Real quick, before we get to your expectations, I was just thinking this. The Lincoln Douglas debates were done. I believe there were 7 of them. It was over the issue of slavery. They lasted like 3 hours and they were done in city squares, weren't they? So
I believe that to be correct. And I'm really talking about televised debates.
Right.
This would be the first, this would be like the Kennedy-Nixon.
Right.
From an expectation, Trump has done everything possible to come up with an excuse to not go into these debates for a number of reasons. He does not want to be there tonight. And I know also, from what I've read, the Biden camp is absolutely going to try and provoke him. And if they do it, if it's ugly and they're provoking, they're going to look like children doing it. It's not going to be flattering to Biden. But if they do provoke him, I would not be a bit surprised if Trump walks off stage.
That's interesting.
Interesting.
At some point during it, he just says, "That's it, I'm out of here." And that wouldn't surprise me a bit.
Now, Tony, I got a question for you. The idea that Biden, their camp wants him to press, attack, push Trump, trying to goad him into something that he doesn't want to do. I want to explore the idea of that backfiring. That if Biden, if he's reaching at that too much, does it end up being a 180-degree reversal of the very first?
That's what I'm saying. It could be ugly. Now, now, if it came out something like, let's say Trump is like, you guys just played the tape where Trump is still trying to talk over Biden about something.
Yeah.
And Biden were to say something, hey, this is a presidential debate stage. Save that for the jail yard.
Oh, that's a good point.
That's the type of thing that would piss him off. And I think it's going to be those types of things, and you can't do it over and over. You get 1 or 2 shots of that. But I think they're going to try and agitate him. Trump, in another way, is kind of protected by this because the rules are set up. He's not going to have the opportunity to talk over. So
now, Tony, I got a question for you. Is there anything that could be done that would change your actual view on the candidates to where you would switch a vote? And the reason I'm asking this is, do you think that most people are so set in their ways with regards to Trump and Biden that this debate is not really going to change anything? It's just kind of more entertainment.
That's a good point.
Is there anything that could happen tonight where you would go, I might switch over and vote for the other guy?
All right. So my theory, I guess, on that is high information voters, and that doesn't mean we're any smarter than anybody else. Just people who pay attention on, so to speak, on a daily basis. They're not going to probably change their mind at all. There are very few people would change. What it is it's the low information voters that will be tuning in for really the first time. And by the way, they're projecting a huge audience tonight. 6 out of 10 in surveys are showing that they plan on tuning in to some degree to the debate. So low information voters are going to come in. And what have they been hearing? They've been hearing, like Biden walking away from the podium and just drifting off into the crowd. Now, we as high information voters know that wasn't true. We know that wasn't true. That was just a camera thing. That's a stunt that's been played. Low information voters don't necessarily know that. They may have heard about it, but they don't know that was just a stunt. And so they're tuning in to find out, is he really too old, too much dementia? Is he slipped away? And they're wanting, so they're tuning in for that reason. Those low information voters, I think, can absolutely be persuaded. Let's say the question to Trump tonight, and this is where he may say that CNN is unfair. If they ask him, okay, in a recent tweet or whatever that social thing is, True Social, you said you were tortured in Atlanta when you had to have your mugshot taken. Please tell the American public how you were tortured. That's going to wake some people up because he's going to have a tough time answering that.
I hope the hosts have that kind of restraint, Tony, as far as to ask the question that way. I too often, and I'm guilty of it as well, that we make too many statements beforehand before asking the question. That's the thing that I worry about. The other one, and I appreciate the call, Tony. Hope you have a good day. The other one I think you're right about is
good call, Tony.
The low information voters and setting low expectations. I think this was part of the problem in the last election cycle for Republicans, is they portrayed Joe Biden as being such a doddering old fool. When he walked out on stage during the debates, remembered who he was and didn't wet himself, they went, oh, what I've been hearing isn't the same thing. So I think the same thing could be true here, that if Biden goes out and for whatever reason looks okay, those low information voters are going to go, oh, maybe what I've been hearing isn't true. That's the one big problem with the narrative Republicans have been selling. And the other one for the Democrats is the thing that Trump's a crazy dictator that wants to take over the country. If he comes out and has some plans and says, I understand where your pain is, the idea of the Bill Clinton, I feel your pain. If he comes out and does that, the low information voters are going to go, he's not crazy. What the hell? He's actually someone that feels what I'm feeling. So there are opportunities here for both.
Good text message from 5631. British Parliament knows how to debate, especially during questioning time.
They're fun.
They are fun.
They are fun.
And they kind of like you and I, Billy, we can debate without being debatable.
Yep, exactly.
Right? And have fun and poke and prod. And
yeah,
I think we inherited that from our English forefathers.
I wish that our parliament was a little bit more like this.
I do too.
I think there's a little more dysfunctional than ours is, but I think it's more fun. It's much more fun to watch.
I want to talk to you all about Gabe Ribble and the Empower Home team. We've hosted Gabe Ribble in studio here before. Absolutely delightful person. There's 3 reasons why you should use them if you got to sell your home. From my perspective, number 1, Gabe Ribble's a delightful, wonderful person. Selling your house is a very stressful thing to do. You want to work with somebody that can get you through that process smoothly. Number 2, she shares our values. She supports this radio station and she gives back to orphans in the state of Colorado because she was an orphan herself and she wants those kids to be able to find a loving family just like she was able to. Number 3, she is the pro's pro. All right, we all got family members and friends that are real estate agents and they want our business and you feel pressured to lean that way. Look, it's a business transaction. You need to be able to get the most for your family. Bottom line. Gabe Ribble, because of her professional powerhouse team at the Empower Home team, gets their clients an average of $30,000 more. Could you use an extra $30,000? That's precisely why you need Gabe Ribble and the Empower Home team. They have over 14,700 pre-approved buyers ready to make a purchase. They sell their home for more, and they sell it faster, typically 1.5 times faster. Here's an unbeatable offer. Gabe Ribble and the Empower Home Team will sell your house for 100% of the asking price, or Gabe will pay you the difference. It's an offer you simply cannot refuse. Get 100% of your asking price guaranteed with Gabe Ribble and the Empower Home Team. Give them a call today, 833-301-SOLD, or go to gayhasthebuyers.com. That's 833-301-SOLD, or gayhasthebuyers.com, G-A-Y-E, hasthebuyers.com. All right, Joan, you'll be up next. We're talking debate. What do you want to see tonight? You're listening to The Jeff and Bill Show.
News Talk 710, KNUS.
At this hour in the UK, I'm John Beaver, and here are the top stories we're following. A new poll has found most US adults plan to watch or listen to some element of tonight's presidential debate. In New York, Haley Bianco has more on the findings.
It'll be all eyes on the TV tonight as Americans tune in for the high-stakes debate between President Joe Biden and former President Donald Trump. A new poll by the Associated Press NORC Center for Public Affairs Research finds the Democratic incumbent and the presumptive Republican nominee remain broadly unpopular as they prepare to spar for the first time since 2020. Nearly 6 in 10 U.S. adults say they are extremely or very likely to watch, read, or listen to commentary about the debate. The debate begins at 9 p.m. Eastern from CNN's studio in Atlanta. We took to the streets of New York City to hear why these voters will be watching.
What they say and what they don't say will affect my vote.
The reason that it is important for me to tune in is because it's going to be affecting my livelihood going forward in the future.
To me, it's more what they have for the American people.
Reporting in New York, I'm Haley Bianco, Salem News Channel.
Tune in tonight as Salem News Channel presents a full night of special coverage and analysis of the presidential debate. SNC's special coverage begins at 5 p.m. Eastern on Salem News Channel. And that's what you need to know at this hour. In the UK, I'm John B.
Got the big presidential debate happening tonight between Joe Biden and Donald Trump. We're talking with folks about what you want to see out of the debate. Let's go to Joan Lakewood. You're on the Jeff and Bill Show, News Talk 710 KNUS. Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning. So, first of all, I think Salem's got a really great lineup before the debate
Oh yeah.
to listen to and stuff. And so I'm kind of excited about that because they got some great commentary. And then we're going to have a party and we're going to play Biden bingo. And,
Okay,
will be a
what's on the
good
bingo
time.
card? Give me just like 2 or 3 things on there that we can all look out for tonight.
President makes freezes and or he has a line of giveaways.
Pause.
I also would put
4
felony on
more
there.
years. 4 more years. Pause.
Yeah, I would put felony in there too to see how many times he says felony.
Felony,
Yeah, just to see.
convicted
Yep,
felon.
yeah. That's got to be on there.
Yeah, it's on there, and whether or not he blinks.
Oh.
One of the really weird parts about him right now is that it's kind of like Robo Biden shows up and you sit there and you go, he's not blinking. He's not blinking.
Joan, I love
That's-
the idea of bingo. I've heard of drinking games too around the debates. Great call. Appreciate it.
Yeah. I think
Let
it's a
us
great
know
idea.
what you're doing tonight to watch the debates and what are you looking for? What do you want to see? And can they do anything to change your mind?
Oh, that's
If
interesting.
Joe Biden came out and said, it is time to end abortion in
Yeah.
America, I might go,
That would be interesting.
What?
Yeah.
So what could they do to change your mind? Give us a call, 303-696-1971, or text us on the 710 KNUS app. We'll continue with your calls and texts, and you choose the news. You're listening to the Jeff and Bill Show.
News Talk 710 KNUS.
Billy, we didn't get to it yesterday because there was so much to cover, but let's go ahead and do a little You Choose the News.
We missed this yesterday, and we got all of your cards, your letters, your emails, your calls, and despite them, we are going to continue to do this frivolity. Yes, You Choose the News is back. Everybody's favorite fake radio news game show. I have scoured the interwebs for mere moments this morning to find these ridiculous stories about us humans and giving them even more dumb headlines. Why? To play this fake radio news game show that nobody in charge has any idea that we do. This is just a little fun between Jeff, Blake, you, and I. Thanks for playing along with us already, gentlemen. Here are your headline choices today. Headline number 1, government says it's your fault. Headline number 2, new court case of hurt feelings versus pants on fire. Headline number 3, no open door policy. And headline number 4, candidate dreams part 2, election boogaloo. Your choice, sir.
I don't even know what you said in the second part. Let's go with that last one. Election boogaloo?
Yes, candidate dreams part 2, election boogaloo. Blake knows what I'm talking about. Yes, he knows how we have to save the community center by our funky dancing. All righty. Now, this happens in Flint, Michigan. A Flint, Michigan Republican running for Congress is now facing a backlash after using a video of an endorsement. Problem is, the endorser's dead. Yes, he recently posted a video of Martin Luther King saying, I have a second dream that so-and-so would be elected, and they're the bestest candidate in the world, and, well, everybody knows that Martin Luther King Jr. is dead.
Huh?
Yes, so there's a bunch of backlash going, hey, maybe I shouldn't do that. The candidate said, no, I appreciate the staffer that took the initiative. I'm going to continue to employ them and give them a raise. So again, this is what's going to happen.
I mean, look, that is I think it's creative to use AI like that. He's got news.
No, it's not.
Now covered it.
No, it's not.
I'm glad he's not firing the kid who did it.
He should fire the kid because they're creating stuff of people that they didn't say, and so that's just ridiculous. So it's a thing that I have. I just the whole idea of truth. But that's just me. All righty, Blake, your choice, sir. Government says it's your fault. Court case of hurt feelings versus pants on fire, or no open door policy.
Government says it's your fault.
Yes, they often like to take that out, and especially if you're in Hong Kong. Hong Kong is struggling with tourism right now. Post-pandemic, tourism has not bounced back to near the levels it was before, and the Hong Kong government has come out and said, it's your fault, people. They're starting an initiative and said, you need to be nicer. They're mad that people aren't smiling enough. They're not welcoming tourists. They're not going out of their way, and sometimes just ignoring them altogether. So they're implementing a smile initiative where you're supposed to smile at all the strangers you don't know, which is really going to get awkward and creepy. But yeah, that's just going to be weird. Because again, imagine you're there and you're like, why is everybody smiling at me? This is weird. Why are they all staring and smiling at me? This is
just weird because the Chinese are very welcoming.
Yes, they are.
The people, despite living in
I know.
Place.
Yeah, mostly just because the government's like, if you're not nice, we will beat you. Yes, exactly. All righty, Jeff, final choice this morning, sir. Hurt feelings versus pants on fire, or no open door policy?
Well, I'm going to do this because Kelly Michaels always has an open door policy, and we love that about him. So let's see what happens when you don't have an open door policy.
This is a no open door policy from Hoba Sound, Florida. A man is now under arrest for exercising the open door policy at an abandoned bank. And he's been arrested. The bank had been abandoned. He wandered inside, went around, looked through the vault, looked through drawers. Oddly, they still had the security system and the alarm connected. They caught him on the cameras, but the police didn't show up until an hour later. And they don't know about that. But yeah, he just wandered in and now he's
checking stuff out.
Yeah. All right, that is it. That's the end of You Choose the News. As always, I'm the giant loser, and you guys are the winners. Back to you, sir.
All right, we'll continue the conversation about the debate. Give us a call. You're listening to the Jeff and Bill Show.
News Talk 710 KNUS.
7 a.m. in the Mile High City on this Thursday, June 27th. You've tuned into the Jeff and Bill Show, News Talk 710 KNUS. Tonight's the big night, the debate. Last go around, they had 70 million people watching the debate. Billy, this is going to be a big one. It's not quite Super Bowl level, but
for politics,
it's getting up there.
And that's why. And there are always people asking why they wanted the debate. Why they want the debate here? Viewers?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, exactly. Eyeballs. Yeah. And speaking of eyeballs, if you get a chance to join us on the YouTubes, the Rumbles, the X's, the Twitters, the whatever the hell it is, they put cameras in front of us a lot. And if you
spoken like a true boomer,
yeah, I know.
Whatever you kids are watching these days.
I hear the cameras, and we're in front of the cameras and waving at the cameras, and I like the cameras. I hate the cameras, but that's okay. I want you to join us
you
and watch
the radio, not television.
Oh, I
Although
hate it.
Blake Olson, he was a bit of a crossover.
Yeah, and that he does it so much better than I do, and I'm really super jealous about that. He knows what he's doing with the camera, but do join us if you even get a chance. At least click on and watch us during You Choose the News, because that can be very entertaining. I'm somewhat animated, and you have no idea about the facial expressions that we're going to get from Jeff and Blake, because they have no clue what's coming next. And sometimes I like to surprise them. So if you've got just one moment during the morning that you can join us at least there. But yeah, take a look. And unfortunately, you got to look at our ugly mugs for a lot of time, but we appreciate you joining us.
So Blake, yesterday we were in a staff meeting, and this might be just because I'm a little younger and I wasn't such a sports guy growing up. I was a political nerd, but you're a big deal, man. Like everybody, they were like, yeah, he was Channel 9. He's the voice of the Bears. He's, all this
Mark
stuff.
Anderson.
Yeah, that was exactly right. That was
he's
Mark.
my agent. What do you expect? I mean, believe me, don't believe a word he says when he's talking about me. I promise.
He's the president of the Blake Olson fan club, is what he is.
Here's the thing, Jeff. I am old, so I have a lot of experience.
People text us in like links to documentaries you're featured in.
It's awesome. It is awesome.
Crazy.
It is so cool to have you part of the team.
Well, it's fun to be here. Believe me, this is the most challenging thing I've ever done in my life, and
that's my fault.
Most fun. And it's Billy's fault.
Yes, it is.
Exactly. Oh man! All right, guys. 66 and partly cloudy, beautiful in Denver this morning. Expecting highs in the low 90s today. The 7-10 5-day forecast coming up. Our top story.
I can't even imagine him being elected. Can you imagine 4 more years? These are the worst 4 years.
A new poll out just before the first presidential debate says former President Trump has taken the lead over President Biden nationally. The Quinnipiac survey polled about 1,600 adults last week and gave Trump a 49 to 45% lead over President Biden. Jeff wants to hear this type of debate again.
The worst president America has ever had.
China ate your lunch, Joe.
He's racist.
You have treated the black community about as bad as anybody in this country.
Everybody knows he's a liar.
Because they want to get him good and strong. So a little before debate time, he gets a shot in the ass, and that's.
I love that guy.
Strengthen him up.
That thing will never get old. I can listen to that every day the rest of my life.
Ironically, that's what Billy and I do to each other each morning to get us going at 6 a.m.
It is. It's called teamwork time.
TMI.
Hey, there's a reason they have those big stalls in the bathroom. It's not just for the handicapped. Just saying.
I have a story about the Texas Rangers. I'll tell you one day.
Oh, good.
Oh, my goodness.
Oh,
All
wait,
right.
no, come on, Blake. You
No,
can't.
I can't. No. It has to do with steroids and all that stuff
Back
in baseball.
I know, and those were the worst days
and
because
stalls.
I'm coming up. I'm a young guy. I'm not big into sports, but you're watching Mark McGuire and Barry Bonds, and they're one summer where it was the race and all that. And then you come to find out that the whole thing was a scam and they were all juicing up. And I mean, you're just like, that's like the day the music died for me.
Really? Yeah, it was for a lot of people. Go ahead, Billy.
I'm kind of, there's part of me that is kind of with the comedian Daniel Tosh. And he's like, just take all the guardrails off. Let them take whatever they want. He's like, I want to go to the stadium and I want to look like my video game. He goes, that's what I want. I want that to happen. And I'm like, he's got a point. He's got a point.
Yeah, no, if you want to kill yourself by the age of 39, who cares?
Exactly.
But, I mean, if your biceps and triceps and your head are 3 times bigger, I mean, who cares?
I know.
That's cool.
Bonds did so much steroids, his head got bigger. How many steroids is that?
Dude, that head increased about an inch.
Yes,
it really did. No, hey, I'm all for it. Just as long as you hit a lot of home runs and you look like a superhero.
It's gonna be great. They're doing 3 flips before a dunk and stuff. It's gonna be great stuff. It's gonna be awesome.
Oh man. It could happen. Never know.
Yep.
All right. There's a lot of talk about trying to persuade more women to vote for Biden. Mark Jones, political analyst from Rice University.
There's an effort by Democrats to try to win over some women who normally vote Republican, but because of the issue of abortion, may be open to being convinced to vote for Joe Biden.
Well, it looks like the Supreme Court is leaning toward allowing emergency abortions. That's based on a document accidentally posted online Wednesday. Bloomberg obtained the document relating to a pending Idaho abortion case before it was taken down. The document reportedly shows the court will allow emergency room doctors in that state to perform abortions. A kayaker who was reported missing in Larimer County has been found dead. Authorities say the man left home to go kayaking on Tuesday but never returned. Search crews were sent to the Lon Hagler Reservoir near Loveland to search for him, and they found his body there Wednesday night. The man's identity hasn't been released, and there's no word yet on how he died. Health officials have confirmed that Colorado's first West Nile virus case of 2024. The case was in Arapahoe County, and experts say having a West Nile case this early in the year is cause for concern, as the first confirmed cases usually don't happen until late summer. Arapahoe County Public Health says that Coloradans should take precautions, including wearing bug spray, wearing long clothing, and staying indoors at dusk and dawn. A 15-year-old suspect arrested in connection with the shooting at the Aurora apartment complex last week now faces several charges. The shooting injured an 11-year-old and a 15-year-old, and the suspect faces charges of possession of a dangerous weapon, possession of a handgun by a juvenile, and obstructing a peace officer.
And with the 17th pick in the 2024 NBA draft, the Los Angeles Lakers select Dalton Connect from the University of Tennessee.
Man, that is a great story. Dalton Connect from Prairie View High School, Northeastern Junior College in Sterling, and also UNC in Greeley, and then to Tennessee for 1 year. Now a Los Angeles Lakers. CU's Cody Williams and Tristan Da Silva also drafted, and the Nuggets acquire power forward Deron Holmes in a trade.
The Astros back at 500 1 week later. But here they are. For the first time in 2024, the Astros can call themselves a 500 base.
That's because they beat the Rockies last night 7-1, and the Rocks take on the White Sox tomorrow. 62 in Superior, 63 in Aurora, 66 in Denver. Jeff and Bill continue debate day Thursday. Blake Olson, News Talk 710 KNUS.
KNUS forecast calls for 60s early this Thursday, quickly warming in the 70s and 80s. Highs today and again Friday, generally low 90s. Building afternoon storm clouds, some scattered strong to perhaps a few severe thunderstorms, especially off to the east. Hit and miss storms Friday. Milder Saturday thanks to a passing cool front Friday night. Readings stay in the 80s. It'll be dry to mostly dry, 90s Sunday. I'm meteorologist Mark Hewer in the KNUS Weather Center. Weather sponsored by Branch Planning. Some income annuities are paying 25 to 45% more than last year. Get a free retirement review by calling Branch Planning today at 720-651-9800. Find out more at branchplanning.com.
All right, let's get back into it. We've got callers here. What do you want to see out of the debate tonight? Are you looking for a in-depth policy discussion about the most important and pressing issues facing our nation from the likely presidential candidates? Or do you want to see a battle, a rumble in the jungle between the two? Give us a call, 303-696-1971. 303-696-1971, or text us on the 710 KNUS app. Let's go to Ron in Denver. Ron, what are you curious about tonight?
Good morning. I'd like to see a serious mental evaluation, physical evaluation of both candidates. I mean, it was 3-4 years ago we were having the same questions about Trump's mental acumen. And now we've got more and more reason to question it.
Yeah, I watched the debate 4 years ago yesterday, and it felt like I was watching a Joe Biden that was 30 years younger.
The illustration I have is that I'm here locally in Denver. If I need a lawyer, I call Dan Kaplis, man. No questions about it. He's got the track record. And we're going to practice, we're going to rehearse, we're going to go into my court case, and he's going to get me a couple $1 million. I would never question it unless he walks into the courtroom in a clown suit. Then I'm going to go, Kaplis, what's up?
Yep.
I mean, how come nobody's asking for the obvious?
But
the Democrats were yelling about that earlier.
Ron, you had the ability to get a different Republican nominee. The Democrats didn't do that. They put all their eggs behind Joe Biden again, or all their eggs in one basket. But with Donald Trump and the Republicans, we had Ron DeSantis. We had that potential, and the voters said, no, we want a rematch. We want Donald Trump back in there. Why didn't we pick somebody younger?
Well, my question is why are they not talking about the 25th Amendment for each of them, or both of them, or all of them?
But Ron, did you vote for Donald Trump in the Republican primary?
Yes, I did.
So why not go for somebody younger?
I'm not worried about Donald Trump specifically, but how come we haven't even asked the question about Joe Biden? We talked about his shoes and whether he's walking up a ramp, or, did he get lost? Did somebody grab his arm? We're not asking the obvious questions that we should be asking going into this election.
Now, Ron, I can get with you.
Able?
I can get with you on the cognitive issue. Again, it would be so awkward and painful that I doubt whatever outlet or reporter did it, that they would get any access in the future to other candidates. But I mean, it would be very entertaining if you would have some of those, like, fifth grade memory tests where you'd sit there and all of a sudden, okay, on the big screen, you're going to have 7 objects, and then look at it for 10 seconds and it disappears. What 2 objects are now missing? Can you name the objects? I mean, it would be entertaining, but it would be difficult to watch.
If Joe Biden really stumbles tonight, cognitively, do you think they keep him around? Do you think you think they still do? Even if he pauses, even if he stumbles and trips and he just looks like everything we've seen before, which I don't think he is. And I think it's a big mistake for Republicans to lower the bar this far, because we do this over and over and over again. And then he shows up to the State of the Union, for instance, and does just fine. You got Lake and Riley's name wrong, but we do this, and then he does okay, and that whole thing is taken off the table. The idea that he's not fit to be president. So, but if he is that bad tonight, you don't think they replace him? Huh?
I don't think so. And Ron was asking about 25th Amendment. I don't think you can do 25th Amendment. One, because it takes the cabinet, and the argument against it is
they won't ever do that.
That he's out anyway. I mean, if we were first or second year in the term, I think we got an argument for looking at the 25th. But when you're in the final year, the issue is just, why go through this constitutional issue right now that is going to create all this mess in the courts and politically, in order that we can just get rid of the guy in a few months? Now, if Biden is really, really bad, then there may be a push behind and he may step down. But again, the problem I have with that, and this is why I think the Democrats don't want to do it. I think they don't want to run Biden in any way, shape, or form. They don't want to run him. The problem being anointing a candidate. That would be the tough sell. And the idea of the powers that be are telling you who you get to choose, because even in the past Democrat primary, do you remember this, Ron? All the argument about the Democrat National Committee not liking Bernie because he's not really a Democrat. He's really a socialist.
Exactly.
And so,
Yep.
And so they were pushing to get him out. So they were not really happy about their own voters choosing the socialist. So that's why I'm not so certain about that. What do you think, man?
I think the operatives, political operatives, the leadership have gotten so used to lying and sugarcoating everything that we, the average guy that's watching this, is going, yeah, you're wrong.
Yeah.
The economy isn't a crapper, and I'm paying $5 a gallon for milk. Don't tell me that everything's fine, because I'm starting to see it. But they're out of lies in Washington. They don't know how to cover, Trump is accused of something and Joe Biden forgets half the things or where he's at. So now they're out of lies. How do we get off the spot? How could we replace Biden? Or to be fair, how could we replace Trump if that goes south?
Yeah. Well, Ron, what about this scenario? What if it's so bad tonight for Donald Trump and Joe Biden that the voters go, Robert F. Kennedy Jr.? He wasn't even on the stage. Could he benefit from a total train wreck between both parties tonight?
He could benefit, but that doesn't benefit me and the average guy. We're screwed either way it goes.
Yeah, I mean, you don't think Robert F. Kennedy Jr. would be a good president?
If he picked a good cabinet, but he's just as scary as some of the other people they've suggested and nominated.
How so? How so? I mean, he's challenged what the government did with COVID, and he's been a voice for freedom in that sense.
In that sense, but see, we keep looking at one or two items and not looking at the whole picture. We just see what's going to benefit us. Does the environment have issues? Yeah, but we have gotten in this stage where we are repeating history continually because the next generation doesn't want to listen to the old guys. I'm old enough to remember the end of the 60s going, wow, this is a mess. Well, here I am close to my 60s going, wow, this is still a mess.
Yeah, and many of the same things. And you're looking at protests on campuses. You're looking at protests turning violent. You're looking at people being, angry about, dumb things, in some cases, real things. Yeah, we're kind of back to the same place.
And a lot of the people I work with and interact with, all ages, are sitting here going, what's the fighting all about? Why don't they just go to work and make a living? How come I can't go to a restaurant and get good service? What does Robert Kennedy have for that? That's, solutions instead of talking points.
Yeah, you know what I've got a problem with RFK Jr. is the first chance that he got to pick somebody, he picked the vice president, and you're like, and she has the qualifications. Yeah, and like, that was exactly it. It's like in the interview, you're kind of like, well, RFK, what's the qualification she has? And he's like, have you seen the size of her bank account?
Yep.
Like, oh, okay. Yeah, that's what worries me about him.
Ron, I really appreciate the call. Ron's line will be open. Great call, by the way. 303-696-1971 if you want to give us a call. Billy, I want to get into this now.
Yeah.
Feds ID 400 migrants smuggled into the U.S. by ISIS-affiliated network with the whereabouts of 50 unknown. The New York Post reporting the Department of Homeland Security has identified over 400 migrants who were brought to the U.S. from Central Asia and other places by ISIS-affiliated human smuggling network, and the whereabouts of more than 50 of them are unknown, according to an unsettling report. More than 150 of the migrants have been arrested, but the locations of another 50 remain unknown. 3 U.S. officials told NBC News, adding that U.S. Immigration and Customs Enforcement is looking to arrest those involved on the immigration charges. Listen to where some of these folks have come from. It's kind of bizarre. Tajikistan, Uzbekistan, Moldova, Kyrgyzstan, Georgia, and Russia. And what they're concerned about is that they may be connected with ISIS-K. That was the group that shot up the Moscow theater.
Yeah.
I mean, this is just wild. Now, they can't say, with absolute certainty that they're directly tied to ISIS-K. But the idea that type of network is smuggling over 400 migrants into the country, and there's 50 of them that they don't know about.
Well, the thing for me is this is, again, supply and demand. This is a market economy. And we've talked for a couple of years now about the smuggling that's going on the southern border with the drug cartels, that how they are getting rich in some ways through the drug smuggling, but also people smuggling, that it is a booming business. And once you see those price tags, and I'm sorry, ICE got bills to pay. And so this is a market solution for them. They can do something. They're not about doing the safe stuff and the thing above the board. I mean, they're ISIS. They do the illegal stuff. And this is an opportunity to make very good money very, very quickly. And the chances are, I would guess that the access to money inside of Russia and the breakoff republics is far greater than access to money in the Central and South American countries. And what I mean by that is you probably can charge more. You probably can get more to get those people over here based on distance and also just based on available bank account. So that is probably incredibly profitable. Now, are they trafficking actual terrorists? Possibly. I'm not saying yes, I'm not saying no. The only question I would have, and again, from where they are, and again, that'll make it incredibly much more difficult for us as far as immigration, because remember, our filter on immigration is dark skin bad. And so that's who we're scared of. And these are people that are coming into the same tint as we have. So they're not going to be as easy to identify as, hey, I'm driving by the parking lot and I can see a whole bunch of illegal immigrants. We can't make that stereotypical assumption anymore. So it makes it more difficult. The issue I would have is there's a whole nother level of smuggling people in versus smuggling a terrorist in. And that's a different level of charges. And that's the only question I have about the ISIS smuggling operation. Is this about smuggling terrorists, or is this about making money? My guess, and my default, is it's about making money. And smuggling the terrorists puts that at risk. I'm not saying that there aren't terrorists in that group. I'm saying I am skeptical that more than 50%, I'm guessing if you had terrorists in that group of 400, you probably have 5 or 6, only because of being risk averse. You don't want to break it up.
You don't need that many, but
sure, yeah. But we got enough here, and we got enough that are homegrown here in the States to not to worry about that, honestly. We got a lot of them here. So I'm not too worried about the idea that they've imported 6 total. I mean, I'm guessing it could be more. But, again, there's all sorts of chaos that we deal with in our daily lives that are visited upon us by other citizens. That's again, I come back to, and this is an inelegant argument, but that's the cover charge that we pay to be here in America. And this is just yet another part of that. Yeah.
I am concerned about what the next big terrorist attack could be in America, because it's been 23 years since 9/11.
Yeah, why so long? That to me is a problem.
And why so long? Well, what I'm concerned about is that in our lifetime, we're probably going to see something like a 9/11 attack or a Pearl Harbor attack again. Those happen. And I was just thinking about this yesterday, going, it's been about 23 years since 9/11 took place. What is the next one going to look like? And have we created a scenario with our border by allowing Joe Biden and particularly Kamala Harris, the fact that he put her in charge of this border crisis, which I think is got to be one of the greatest mistakes you could have ever made in the history of this country, to put her in charge of what's happening down there, this problem. And now you have 50 that we don't know about, that we can't find. I sure hope we don't face another big terrorist attack. And I'm afraid America might be just purely due for it out of time and out of negligence that took place now.
Yeah. The thing for me is that the longer the time goes, the more time we have between the two, the less concerned I have about it, only because if it was easy to accomplish, you'd do it. And that's the thing for me, is that the longer time, the longer span that we have, it tells me the more difficult it is to actually execute this. Because if you could have, during things that were going on in Afghanistan over the past 20 years, I'm certain there would be numerous times that many, many terrorist organizations on the world would love to have some sort of attack here inside of the U.S., and they could not execute it.
See, I that's where I think I disagree with you, because I think the longer it takes, the worse it is. Because if you just want to go harm people, you grab an AK-47 and you walk into a crowded place. But with 9/11, they quietly planned that. They figured out a flaw in our system that none of us had been thinking about. The fact that airplanes themselves could become tools for mass destruction. And then when they struck, it was so big, so overwhelming. Nearly 3,000 people died that day. That's what I'm concerned about. It's been 23 years. We've had this failure at the border, which has allowed terrorists to get into this country, possibly. And the attack could be really, really big as a result of it.
The thing is that bin Laden's group had a dry run earlier. It was a number of years earlier where they tried to detonate a bomb in the bottom of the Twin Towers.
Oh, yeah. Okay, so you're thinking that attack that took place in the 90s.
What I'm talking about is that was a test run, because they were trying to bring down the building, but they couldn't do it that way. And so they had to figure out a different way. So that's what I believe we would see, is we would see certain test runs. We would see certain things happening. You would have different types of random shootings. You have different types of attacks, because the systems would have to be tested. And so that's why, given the time between the attacks, I am less convinced that it is going to happen. And the other thing that I think, actually, and this is I can't believe I'm getting this morbid this time of the morning. Okay, 7:27, I'm gonna get this morbid. Part of the reason I believe it is difficult to have a terrorist attack on American soil that is impactful, because of the daily violence we visit upon ourselves. It is hard to overcome that amount of violence and loss of life and what we do in our society. So you have to have something that is incredibly significant. If you show up as a terrorist group and you have some sort of a mass shooting, okay, was it bigger or less than what happened in Vegas? I mean, we're going to have to, it's a rank system. So what you can do in another country, you can't necessarily do here, because the impact is less because of what we do to ourselves. And it's morbid and it's horrible and I suck. But
do you think our enemies, so look at the fentanyl deaths. Here's another question. That was over 100,000 last year. Okay, compare that with 3,000 that died on 9/11.
Yeah.
Are they getting more people already? And do they just go, you know what, maybe we just keep this thing going?
You know what? That is a really, really interesting and creative level to this discussion. I like how your brain is working. I appreciate that, because I think you're right. I think at a level, you just get out of the way. It's Sun Tzu. When your enemy's destroying himself, let him. Just get out of the way. And if you can, give him the tools.
Partially destroying ourselves, but giving them the tools.
Absolutely, give them the tools.
No,
I
agree with that.
And we are. If we could send something to another country that we were involved in, that they would then ingest and it would destroy part of their society, rather than putting boots on the ground or having anything else, that's easy.
And having to do something that's so on the nose, like a terrorist attack.
Yes, that is real easy.
So I want to get to the phones here. Does this concern you? New York Post reporting 400 migrants smuggled into the U.S. by an ISIS-affiliated network, where the whereabouts of 50 of them are unknown. They've got the other 350, and they're not saying that all of them are terrorists. It's just affiliated with an ISIS network. Are they just trying to make money? Is that what this is all about? Or are they planning an attack? This concerns me. I'm really worried about the fact that it's been 23 years since we've had that big of an attack. We have enemies that are not dumb. Like with 9/11, they planned it out over years and then they struck. Is something happening down there? Give me a call, 303-696-1971, or text us on the 710 KNUS app. We'll get to Jay in just a second. I want to talk to you all about QC Kinetics. Look, life in Colorado is awesome this time of year, but not so much if you got joint pain in your knees or shoulders. The good news is that QC Kinetics is here with the most advanced treatments using regenerative medicine. They harness the healing power from your own body to restore and repair your damaged joint tissue. Look, I've got family members that are dealing with knee problems, elbow problems, joint problems. The last thing you want to do is go under the knife because you have all these other complications that happen as a result of it. QC Kinetics harnesses your own body's healing power to bring about that relief you're looking for. QC Kinetics can get you moving again with no surgery, no drugs, and no downtime. This is the future of medicine, and the local medical professionals at QC Kinetics can get you started with a free consultation. They have clinics in Aurora and Superior. If your shoulder or back is always hurting, if it hurts to walk or lift something, you need to check them out and get lasting relief. Do it now, so you can enjoy the Colorado summertime like you deserve. Next generation joint pain relief is here at QC Kinetics. Give them a call, 303-900-8986. That's 303-900-8986. Or visit painfreecolorado.com to learn more. We have staff members here in our sales department that are utilizing all the great services that QC Kinetics provides. All right. I want to get to this as well, especially next. House votes to defund Mayorkas' salary. They voted to impeach him. That went nowhere in the Senate. They're going a different route. Representative Andy Biggs has gotten an amendment passed through the House that only pays Mayorkas, the head of the Department of Homeland Security, $1. We'll cover that and more and get to your calls. You're listening to the Jeff and Bill Show.
News Talk 710 KNUS.
At this hour in the UK, I'm John Beaver, and here are the top stories we're following. It's debate day in the US. President Joe Biden will square off against his Republican rival and former President Donald Trump in what's shaping up to be an historic showdown. Tony Waterman reports.
During this 90-minute debate, both men will have clear objectives. Biden is going to want to show skeptical voters that at 81 years old, he is still capable of holding the top office. Expect him to tout his achievements like a strong economy, robust job creation, and a bipartisan infrastructure bill. Trump will likely try to undercut those achievements by focusing on record migrant crossings at the southern border, the high cost of living, and crime. This is the first time the men have been on the debate stage since 2020.
Stay with Salem News Channel for special coverage and analysis of the debate beginning at 5 p.m. Eastern. Meanwhile, in the UK, the final leaders debate took place ahead of the general election. The public will vote 1 week from today. The ruling Conservative Party are a long way behind in the opinion polls. The Conservatives are expected to lose some support to the more right-wing Reform Party, led by long-term Donald Trump ally Nigel Farage. And that's what you need to know at this hour. I'm John Beaver in the UK on Salem News Channel.
Welcome back to the Jeff and Bill Show. Headline coming from the New York Post. Feds ID 400 migrants smuggled into the U.S. by ISIS-affiliated network with the whereabouts of 50 of them unknown. The House now moving to defund the head of the Department of Homeland Security, Alejandro Mayorkas' salary. Now, it's not likely to get through the Senate, but the House making a stand here on Wednesday. We'll get to that in just a second. Let's talk with Jay. Jay, you're on the Jeff and Bill Show. Good morning.
Morning.
Hey, great show. So didn't they already impeach Mayorkas and the Senate turned it down? Charlie Schumer put it in file 13.
Yeah,
that's exactly right. He just kind of shrugged.
Yeah, he kind of shrugged and he tried to grill some burgers and dogs and he looked like a weirdo.
Yeah, and just on a
See
side
that
note, Jay,
photo?
I just want to say I appreciate the texters, but no, you cannot defund my salary. But thank you. I appreciate the suggestions, but no.
Well, if you defund a bureaucrat's salary, that's pretty much all they have because they.
That's true.
Well, I don't know. They're making money somewhere else these days. I mean, what is Joe Biden's now worth $9 million? All right, Jay, are you concerned? I am. That it's been 23 years since 9/11 took place. We have a porous border that Joe Biden put Kamala Harris in charge of. I'm worried we're going to face some very serious terrorist attack in this country. Are you?
Yeah, we've been all over the world, and there's lots of folks that want to kill us, and it's just the way the world is. And we go in and take countries over and win freedom and give it back to the people, and we don't take their money, their oil, or their women and children, and that's our problem. We should be more totalitarian. But let me ask you about the World Trade Center. Billy said something very interesting. I did not realize that Osama bin Laden, in fact, was tied to Yosef, the blind sheikh that did the 93 bombing.
Yeah, he was.
And the blind, yeah. So we had to report to that. And of course, what they did for folks that are not familiar is they filled a Ryder truck full of explosives and they went into the base of the building and tried to blow the base of the building out, thinking it would topple over to, and this is in their writings, it was exposed. But interesting that the blind sheikh was finally, or Yosef was finally arrested in Pakistan, where Osama bin Laden was also killed. So what happened was simple. It incinerated everything. And our guys went in there and it melted all of the base of that building. It was so hot. But what they were trying to do, and also 93 to 2001, was not drop the buildings straight down. They were trying to drop the buildings towards the Hudson River, which would flood all of Manhattan, and in their words, and drown the rats on their way to work, to the stock exchange, etc. And the actual fault wall that holds the Hudson River back from Manhattan, because a lot of Manhattan is subterranean, would have, of course, been devastating. And they did it at 7:30 in the morning when a lot of people would have been on those subways. And that's in their words. That was discovered years later.
Wow. Do you think we have enemies sophisticated enough to do this in our country anymore? I obviously China could, Russia could, but that would open up a huge war, which I'm not sure that they want. Who out there do you think is a threat to us still?
Well, our call centers and our data centers where we manage networks are filled with people, especially from Pakistan, especially of Indian descent. And I'm not typecasting anybody, don't get me wrong. But most of the people that are very capable of a hit. Okay, first of all, 9/11 was accomplished with a plane ticket and a $2 each box
cutting knife, right?
Come on, that's their cost. I mean, war is expensive, and they use hundreds of millions of dollars of aircraft. And the second issue is my buddy that I've been flying with since he was 15. He flies a 787. Everybody in the flight community said there's no way any pilot could fly over Central Park. When you fly, you hit thermals from the oxygen from the trees. No one that they know could hit that building that accurately. So there's definitely at least a transponder planted in the building for the perfection of those hits. Nothing missed. Think about it. The Pentagon, you can't even see it from 5 miles away. I've been there. They hit it perfectly. So am I scared? Yes, for my kids, for our kids. And also, no one gets in this country for free. My people got stripped naked at Ellis Island and came in and sprayed with DDT and had to speak the language and had to be part of our community. That's what we are. And I'm very afraid that the Democratic Party thinks, I'm not even sure it's a Democratic Party anymore. You tell me what it's called. But whoever's bringing all these people in here and allowing Biden and Mayorkas are only care about the next 2 years. They don't care if we all die. That's my worry.
Wow. Jay, appreciate the call. Thanks so much. Jay's line will be open 303-696-1971 or text us on the 710 KNUS app. Got a text here from the bread man. Why wouldn't a foreign power attack us? We didn't do anything to the 9/11 attackers, which were Saudis in that case.
Yeah. My guess is it's the reason they wouldn't is one, oceans. It's very difficult to get a large scale, type of a fleet or an invasion force
these days.
Yeah. And the terrorist attacks, again, if it was easy to do, I think we would have seen it so far. I'm not saying it can't happen. I'm just saying that if it was easy to execute and to make it that impactful, I think we would have seen it by now because we've pissed off more than our share of people. And there are lots of people out there that are very, very angry with us. And so if it was so easy to, set up things like those, the improvised explosive devices, if it was so easy to have, those suicide vests, if it was so easy, I mean, most of the terrorists we've had recently have been homegrown per se. You go back to things like the Boston Marathon bombers.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Kids of immigrants, but they had been radicalized online. And that is the easier thing to do, is to radicalize the people here and have them try to affect some sort of an attack. And we saw how, somewhat effective and somewhat ineffective their attack was as well. Again, lots and lots of, people that were injured and hurt, but it didn't necessarily create the chaos they wanted to, because building bombs is hard. Yeah.
So yesterday, the House of Representatives voted to block Homeland Security Secretary Alejandro Mayorkas' salary. It was an amendment by Representative Andy Biggs for the House Appropriations Bill, funding the Department of Homeland Security for fiscal year 2025, that would block funds in the bill from being used to pay Mayorkas. Just one Republican voted against the measure, which passed 193 to 173. Biggs wrote on X, taxpayers should not be paying an unelected bureaucrat who was impeached by the House. That's why I sponsored an amendment to this year's Homeland Security Appropriations Act to prohibit funding to be used for the salary of DHS Secretary Mayorkas. A good move, you think? Or just politics? These guys just going back and forth, investigating each other, using lawfare to go after each other, and now using the power of the purse to try to penalize you because they don't agree with your policies. What do you think of that? Give me a call, 303-696-1971, or text us on the 710 KNUS app. Look, it's a great time of the year to get your hair done with advanced hair. Look, the Jeff and Bill Show was voted the top rated talk radio show in Denver by Westward. Well, Westward also awarded our friends at Advanced Hair Restoration the top hair restoration place. Summertime is a time to feel and look your best, but I'm not talking about your abs or tan, dudes. I'm talking about your hair. Restore that bald spot, reverse your receding hairline, or add volume to thinning during Advanced Hair's once yearly summer savings event. Look, I've had family members get their hair treated. They look younger, and as a result, they feel better. Advanced Hair's simple one-day treatment begins to regrow your own natural hair the very next day, and they guarantee your new hair will grow. There's absolutely no one I trust more than Dr. Tanya Pauls and her team at Advanced Hair. Take advantage of your flexible summer calendar and get the most hair for your dollar. Advanced Hair's summer sales event is on for a limited time, so you can get the details and schedule your free consultation today. 720-459-HAIR. One-day treatment, life-changing results. With Advanced Hair, your new hair is guaranteed to grow. Check out the incredible before and afters and take advantage of their best offer ever. That's 720-459-HAIR or advancedhair.com. That's advancedhair.com. We'll continue with your calls and texts. You're listening to The Jeff and Bill Show.
News Talk 710 KNUS.
All right. Billy, Joe Biden, or actually, sorry, Donald Trump has come out with his debate night bingo card.
Yay. What is it? I want to hear this.
Are you ready for some of these?
Yeah.
So you get a free space if Joe lies.
Okay.
You get another space if Joe forgets where he is.
Okay.
If he can't find his way off the stage.
Nice.
If he soils himself.
Okay.
If he blames Trump for things, which you know he will do.
Oh, yeah.
If he gets saved by Jake Tapper.
Okay.
If he says Hunter is the smartest guy I know.
Okay.
If he uses the phrase Scranton Joe. If he shuffles around. If he's saved by Jake Tapper again, they have 2 of those spots.
Oh, wow. Okay.
You can get 2 of those. If he falls down. Oh, no.
Oh.
If he claims to drive an 18-wheeler, which he did at one point. He claimed that he was a driver. And then if he uses the word, are you ready for this?
Yeah. See, that's the thing. The thing for me is I appreciate the bingo card, but I want them to up their game a little bit, because the whole idea of him falling down, him soiling himself, those are easy pot shots, but that's not something you're going to see on stage.
Yeah.
I would love to see it more targeted. The idea about how many times does he reference people and use nicknames? How many times, you get
corn
a
pop.
space.
If he uses corn pop, you get a spot.
But it would be something like that, corn pop or any other of those nicknames. I would make it broader, any of those. I also would say if there is anything that he goes back and he tells a story about Hunter or he tells a story about Bo. Either one of those, I would also say that you have to do that. And you've got to have something on there about him saying felony. But again, you don't want to.
It doesn't have
Trump
on there.
One.
Yeah,
I
Donald
know,
Trump is not adding that.
He doesn't want to because he don't want to promote it. But that's got to be on there too. And there's also got to be a space on there about him misidentifying members of his own cabinet. That should be there, because again, that's a higher level. Yeah, that's a higher level of playing.
It's not on there.
Yeah. You need those.
If he both whispers into the mic and shouts into the mic.
Oh, that is and I love the one too. And they should do it. You should be able to score it twice and just give it 2 different spaces. You can give him 2 different ones. That's a really good one.
One's a whisper, one's a shout.
Very smart.
If he holds the lectern for dear life.
Oh. You know what they need to have? They need to have the idea of and this would be for both of them, has trouble drinking water. I just want that, just the physical dexterity. And also you've got to have that pregnant pause, that just pause.
You know what I every time I hear 4 more years, in my head go pause. It will forever be in my mind after that. But
please clap.
You know what I would like to see?
What?
This was one of the greatest debate faux pas ever.
Yeah.
Do you remember this one?
I don't know.
When George H. W. Bush looked at his watch.
Oh,
do you remember that?
Yep, exactly. Yeah.
What time is it? When are we done with this thing? I've got other things to do, is what it communicated.
And Biden got nailed for that a couple other times when people giving speeches, and he's like checking, and it's like a very somber kind of thing. He's like,
he's checking his watch.
Yeah, and you're like, oh yeah, you don't check your watch at the funeral. You don't do that.
No.
Yeah, you don't do that. That's bad. That's a bad look.
What would you like to see on the Joe Biden bingo card for Donald Trump?
Ooh, that's a good one. I would put on things like Biden crime family.
Mm-hmm.
I would put drug references. I would do several spaces of things about when he says the greatest ever and the worst ever. I also would have the phrase, no one's ever seen it before. I also would have the phrase, people are saying or people are telling me. I would have the thing about large grown men crying in my presence. I would have that there. Tears in my eyes. I'd have those stock things, because there's one criticism that I have, and I'm not going to try to get too personal right now, but there's one criticism I have about Donald Trump and his use of language. It's okay. I don't want to say shallow, but he lacks a thesaurus. He has no adjectives and adverbs.
Yeah.
He has none. And that's why everything is black and white. He can't describe anything in gray terms because he doesn't have any. It's always the best ever, the worst ever. People have never seen this. People have never seen this happen. There's never any gradient. If he ever ranks anything, it's always either the best ever or the worst ever.
And
that's all he
everybody
has.
says.
Yeah, everybody says. And
Everybody says is another one.
And those are the phrases that I would have on there. Everybody says.
Well, coming up in the 8 o'clock hour, we're going to talk to Gabe Evans. He's the winner of Colorado's Congressional District 8 Republican primary, which means he's taking on Yadiro Caraveo this November. Gabe's going to join us, talk about his strategy. He's got one of the more competitive races. How is he going to flip it? You're listening to The Jeff and Bill Show.
News Talk 710 KNUS.
the issues that matter most to you right here, right now. What's up after the news with Blake and it is Colorado Congressional District 8 won bigly on Tuesday night, 77%, Billy.
That is
to
fantastic.
22%.
Good job.
Very clear victory for Gabe Evans to become the Republican nominee. Now, this is a big district.
This is a big deal.
Because
Yeah.
this is really the only 50-50 district in Colorado.
Yep.
And Barb Kirkmeyer lost to Yadira Caraveo on a very small margin that in some cases, some attributed to a spoiler being in the race with a libertarian candidate. That's how close it was, just a few percentage points. So Gabe Evans is going to make a strong run at it. And he's got to really engage in a campaign that, Lauren Boebert doesn't quite have to.
Yeah.
Jeff Crank doesn't have to because they're such conservative districts. Now, Jeff Hurd is going to have a big mountain to climb in Congressional District 3, which is on the western slope. But this is one that the entire nation is going to be watching. So I'm going to ask Gabe Evans, what is his plan to win and flip this to a Republican district? All right. We'll get to that in just a second, but let's check in on the news with Blake Olson. Good morning, Blake.
Morning, Jeff and Billy. 70 and partly cloudy, beautiful in Denver. Just a gorgeous morning outside, expecting highs in the low 90s today. The 7-10 5-day forecast coming up. Our top story.
The worst president America has ever had.
China ate your lunch, Joe.
He's racist.
You have treated the black community about as bad as anybody in this country.
Everybody knows he's a liar.
The presidential debate between President Biden and former President Trump is just hours away. The 90-minute kickoff, the debate kicks off at 7 o'clock Denver time. Likely debate topics will include inflation, abortion, Israel, and illegal immigration.
Should I be tough and nasty and just say you're the worst president in history? Or should I be nice and calm and let him speak?
Illegal immigration and the southern border has to be one of the biggest issues. Cal Jilson, a political analyst from SMU.
Trump will focus on it, and Biden will try to argue that recent moves he's made to tighten up the border have been effective.
That is hilarious. Jeff and Bill have been talking about Alejandro Mayorkas. What's amazing is the mainstream media finally trying to hold him accountable.
Obviously, the media, the nation has had their eyes on the brutal crimes committed recently by illegal immigrants. One of them was actually wearing an ICE ankle monitor. Yet this morning you said in an interview that the safety of the American people is the priority and that these individuals are vetted. But we know in our conversations with the ICE director, we've heard the FBI director say that there are significant gaps in intel. So what would you say to reassure the American people that they are in fact safe? And what would you say to the families who are mourning their loved ones because of these migrant crimes being committed?
Well, let me start where you ended. A message to the families is, of course, our hearts are with them, given their suffering. The safety and security of the American public is indeed our highest priority.
Oh, what a joke. The U.S. Supreme Court could issue more opinions today on some major issues. Among them are ruling on former President Trump's claim that he is immune from prosecution for alleged crimes committed while in office, while the actual crimes were probably made by the FBI. Stay tuned. Denver police investigating a violent robbery at the Joyeria El Ruby jewelry store. It happened earlier this week when 8 armed suspects entered the business, threatened the staff and customers at gunpoint, and stole $2.5 million worth of jewelry. Surveillance video shows a suspect pistol whipping one of the employees. Images of the suspects have been released to the public, and anyone who recognizes them should contact Metro Denver Crime Stoppers. Health officials have confirmed Colorado's first West Nile virus case of 2024. The case was in Arapahoe County, and experts say having a West Nile case this early in the year is a cause for concern, as the first confirmed cases usually don't happen until late summer. Arapahoe County Health says that Coloradans should take precautions, including wearing bug spray, wearing long clothing, and staying indoors at dusk and dawn. Last year was one of Colorado's worst for West Nile virus, resulting in 383 hospitalizations and 50 deaths.
And with the 17th pick in the 2024 NBA draft, the Los Angeles Lakers select Dalton Connect from the University of Tennessee.
Dalton Connect, Colorado, from Prairie View High School, Northeastern Junior College in Sterling, and then the University of Northern Colorado in Greeley. He transferred for 1 year to Tennessee. He is now a Los Angeles Laker. CU's Cody Williams and Tristan Da Silva also drafted. Nuggets acquire power forward Deron Holmes in a trade. Astros beat the Rockies 7-1. They take on the White Sox tomorrow. 64 in Golden, 68 in Parker, 70 in Denver. And Jeff and Bill continue debate day on Thursday. Blake Olson, News Talk, 710 KNUS.
Your KNUS forecast calls for 60s early this Thursday, quickly warming in the 70s and 80s. Highs today and again Friday, generally low 90s. Building afternoon storm clouds, some scattered strong to perhaps a few severe thunderstorms, especially off to the east. Hit and miss storms Friday. Milder Saturday thanks to a passing cool front Friday night. Readings stay in the 80s. It'll be dry to mostly dry, 90s Sunday. I'm meteorologist Mark Huer in the KNUS Weather Center. Weather sponsored by Branch Planning. Some income annuities are paying 25 to 45% more than last year. Get a free retirement review by calling Branch Planning today at 720-651-9800. Find out more at branchplanning.com.
Joining the Jeff and Bill is the man himself, Gabe Evans, victorious on Tuesday in the primary, the Republican primary for Congressional District 8, beating his opponent, Janik Joshi, who's a great guy, friend of the show, by the way, came down and spent some time with us. But Gabe winning 77 to 22, I believe, in the votes, bigly. And very honored to have him on the show. My question, Gabe, for you is now as you pivot to the general election, what is your strategy to wrestle that seat away from Yadira Caraveo and turn it into a Republican-held seat?
Well, thanks, first of all, so much for having me on this morning. Always great to be on the show with you.
Yeah. How did you feel? How did you feel Tuesday night? Sizable victory.
Yeah, obviously, we've been working as hard as we possibly can for this race. We were very confident, that just with my background, my bio, the message, that we were resonating with folks. My story. Born and raised here in Colorado, 12 years U.S. Army, another 10 years in law enforcement, time in the Colorado Army National Guard as well, current state representative. And so the takeaway from all of that is I've sworn 4 separate oaths already by this point in my life, 3 of them payable up to and including my life, to take care of my country, take care of my state, take care of my community. I've stood in people's living rooms as a police officer when they told me about the problems, the worst day of their life. I've tried to take that experience down to the state capital, and work to fix the problems that are facing Coloradans right now, that are facing America right now. We know we have a border crisis. We know we have a crime crisis. We know we have a cost of living crisis. We know that, the majority of our kids aren't getting a good education in schools. And so those are the problems that I'm focused on fixing. Down at the state capitol, even in a super minority, I still got almost 60% of my bills passed, because I'm focused on these dinner table issues. So going into the election, we were very confident that message was resonating, and obviously saw all of that hard work pay off on Tuesday night. So now just look forward to continuing to carry that message to the voters in the 8th Congressional District, and be able to lay out the plan for how we can fix those problems, how we can help them achieve their version of the American dream by making Colorado a safe, affordable place to live, work, and raise families again.
So let's talk about Yadira Caraveo. She's the current representative that represents that seat. Why is she wrong? Why is she the wrong person to lead Congressional District 8?
Oh, all of those issues that we just ran through. She's got a long history of being on the wrong side of all of those things. Let's talk the border. That's something that's on everybody's minds these days. She has a long documented history of being strongly in favor of open border, strongly in favor of sanctuary state policies in Colorado. In fact, she not just has a voting record that speaks to that, she's gone out of her way to sign on 2 letters to Joe Biden asking him to divest from Immigration and Customs and from Border Patrol. And so when we look at the fact that in the state of Colorado, you got somewhere around $300 million taxpayer dollars from December of 2022 that are going to illegal immigrants. When you look at the fact that fentanyl is the #1 killer of Americans ages 18 to 45, and that stuff is streaming across our southern border. When you look at the fact that Colorado specifically is the #2 state in the nation for teenagers overdosing and dying on illegal drugs, and all of that stuff ties to our wide open southern border, Caraveo has been wrong on those issues. And you can go down, really any of these other big issues that I talked about and see that her voting record and her policies have consistently been wrong.
Now, I imagine that this seat is going to get a lot of national attention and national investment. Tell our listeners how a race this big operates. You're going to have people pouring in money from special interest groups. They're going to really want to try to keep this seat in the Democrat hands. You're trying to wrestle it away. There's a lot of organizations that are interested in wrestling this seat away from Republicans or from Democrats into a Republican seat. Tell folks how big the national focus is going to be on Congressional District 8.
Oh, it's huge. This is one of about 10 to 12 seats across the nation that's going to dictate which party controls the U.S. House and how big the majority is. Right now we've got I think it's a 2-vote majority in the U.S. House. So the implications of Colorado's 8th congressional district truly are national. And like you said, there's going to be a ton of attention focused on this race in the next 4.5 months. So I apologize to everybody in advance for all of the political advertising. There's going to be a lot. And it boils down to just logistics, being able to get the message out to the voters so that they have the information that they need to make a good decision come this November.
Gabe, how are you going to balance the focus at the national level on the presidential campaigns? This is not a congressional district 4, right? This isn't Lauren Boebert's, all in for MAGA type of district. This is a 50-50 district. And so you're going to have to support the president, but you're not going to be fully tied to the entire, fighting MAGA movement. You've got to be a little bit independent. Give us a little insight into your strategy on how you're going to balance all of that in a 50-50 district.
Yeah, great question. I've been independent since I was 6 years old, and my parents decided that they wanted to homeschool me. And so that was the educational choice, because I'm a big fan of educational choice, parents and families being able to pick the education that works for them and their kids. That was the educational choice that my parents picked for me. But, as a homeschooler, especially in the early 90s, you always get a few raised eyebrows. And so I've kind of learned to chart my own course, ever since I was a kid. And as I tell people, when that question comes up, I make decisions when I'm wearing my political hat. I make decisions based on 3 things. My faith guides me. I follow the Constitution, the same Constitution that I swore 3 oaths during my time in the U.S. Army, the Colorado Army National Guard, and as a police officer. Same Constitution I swore 3 oaths to uphold and defend. And so my experience in those areas as a soldier, as a cop, as a husband, and as a father, all of those things inform that second point. And then I listen to the constituents in my district, the same way I did when I was a police officer. When folks called me up as a cop, and I mentioned this earlier, they never call you on the best day of their life. They call you on the worst day of their lives. So I know all of those friction points in society. I've stood in folks' living room, as they've told me about the worst thing that's ever happened to them. And when they call you up, they're calling to tell you what the problems are. And as a police officer, your question isn't, are you Republican or Democrat or third party? Your question is always, what's the problem? How do we work together to fix it? And so that's how I've conducted myself down at the state capitol. That's how I plan to continue to conduct myself down in Congress, because it's the exact same motivation that drove me to serve 22 years in military and law enforcement. And I think it works. Like I mentioned earlier, I'm in the super minority at the state capitol, but I'm focused on fixing problems to make people's lives better. And even in a super minority, 19 Republicans to 46 Democrats, even in a super minority, I still got almost 60% of my bills passed. And I think that resonates with folks who just want good government, who want to be able to live their version of the American dream in a safe and affordable place.
So Yadira Caraveo has a 6% lifetime score from Heritage Action compared to the average House Democrat of 11%. Gabe Evans, how important is it to be independent in that district? Yadira Caraveo is even more progressive than the average House Democrat. Think that's going to work for her in that district?
Look at Commerce City. Commerce City is, it's a very Hispanic community, but it's a Hispanic community that truly respects the military and our veterans. Commerce City has, I believe it's the largest Memorial Day parade in the state of Colorado. And then you go look at Caraveo's voting record. Caraveo has voted against funding for veterans because she doesn't think that there's enough flexibility in that package to be able to siphon money away from our veterans and go give it to folks who are illegally present in the country. That message does not sell in places like Commerce City. I can go to Commerce City as a veteran, as somebody of Hispanic descent. My grandfather immigrated to this country from Mexico, earned his citizenship in World War II, along with 2 Purple Hearts. The folks in Commerce City, their story is my story. My story is their story. I'm the grandson of a Mexican immigrant. I served in the military. He served in the military. And so at places like the Memorial Day Parade, which I was at earlier this year, having those conversations about, look, we need to put our veterans first. We need to take care of those who took care of us. And then when my Democrat opponent is busy voting against funding for veterans because she wants to be able to siphon that off for illegal immigrants, that's a message that doesn't sell.
Gabe Evans, I want to go back to Tuesday night. How do you feel about the team that the Republicans are fielding for November? Jeff Hurd in Congressional District 3, Jeff Crank in Congressional District 5, Lauren Boebert in Congressional District 4, and then all the other ones that were non-contested. How do you feel going into November with those folks alongside you fighting for Republican control of the House?
Well, everybody's district is different, and I think the voters in each one of their districts made the choice that they thought would best represent the unique character and the unique issues of those districts. Because at the end of the day, as representatives, we work for, yes, we obviously have to make policies for the nation, but we speak for the folks in our district, and all of those districts are different and unique. So I made a phone call to each one of those individuals that night, congratulating them on winning and looking forward to working with them in the future. Because like Ben Franklin said at the very beginning of this country, you got to hang together or you're going to hang separate.
Gabe Evans, candidate for Colorado Congressional District 8, joining Jeff and Bill live. We sure appreciate your time. I'm not sure if you're aware of this, Gabe, but your opponent says it's okay to pay yourself from your campaign funds. It's what you did last election cycle. It's just an option. I'm not suggesting you do it. I'm just pointing that out, that is what she did last time. The doctor had to pay herself out of her campaign funds. But what I wanted to focus on for a second is the idea that you proudly said that you were able to get 40% of the bills that you sponsored across the line here in our Colorado state legislature. Haven't you understood that government is not supposed to work? What are you doing actually trying to make this functional and moving this forward? And I'm teasing because what I want to talk to you about is how can you have a message that is going to cross the aisle and convince those Caraveo voters that supported her last time that you can be better served for that district? You've touched on that a little bit, but what I want to focus on are what are those issues that you believe Caraveo is weaker on outside of the border? Yes, she's weak on the border. Where are the other openings that you figure that you can make hay with this very diverse and almost evenly split population in that district?
That's a great question. And so it was almost 60% of my bills.
No, 60? Again, what are you doing? Did you not understand this is not supposed to work? I just, seriously, you got to pay attention to what they're doing nationally. And that's the thing is you're going down to nationals and hopefully you're going to get things done, but you don't understand how it works, that they're not supposed to do anything. That's kind of, I'm sorry, I'm teasing, but go ahead.
I know. I 22 years in military and law enforcement, I speak fluent sarcasm, so I get you. So Two quick thoughts on that one. When you go back and you look at Congress, historically, when does Congress function well? Congress typically functions better when you have a higher percentage of veterans in Congress. Because Democrat or Republican, when you have more veterans, we all served together, we all raised our right hands and swore that oath to put country above self, up to and including potentially your life. And so you have that shared experience, you have that shared background, you have that common operating language to where even if I vehemently disagree with somebody, we can still have a cordial, adult, respectful conversation and talk about policies and not personality. So when you go back and you look at Congress, when has Congress been more functional or less functional? Generally, it is more functional when you have a higher percentage of veterans in Congress. That's something that I bring, and that's something that you can see down at the state capitol. I'll talk a specific bill that I'm very proud of that I was able to get passed and that I think resonates with the voters in the district. Kind of in answer to your question. Couple of years ago, we had a really bad day in Colorado. 17 schools were subject to a fake active shooter threat. So swatting is kind of the slang term for it. And so swatting is horrible for our schools because the school goes into lockdown. They don't know if this is a fake threat or not. All of the kids get traumatized. All of the teachers get traumatized. All of the first responders get traumatized. The parents get traumatized. You literally traumatize an entire community when a school goes into lockdown because of what later turns out to be a fake active shooter threat. And we had 17 of them in one afternoon happen in Colorado. The problem was those fake threats, those are internet-based crimes. Nobody's actually calling in on an actual phone number that you can trace easily when they do those. Those are bouncing through routers and all sorts of stuff. It's an internet-based crime. The only entity that has the national and international reach to be able to solve an internet-based crime like that is the FBI. Problem is, the FBI doesn't get involved in misdemeanor cases generally. And in Colorado, up until very recently, it was a misdemeanor to call in a fake active shooter threat to our schools. And so I disagree with our attorney general here in Colorado on a regular basis. He says dumb things like you got to steal 3 cars to go to jail before you go to jail. But even the attorney general of Colorado and myself found that common ground to say this is not an acceptable situation for our schools. I know that because I was a cop for 10 years. I responded to our schools. I worked in our schools. And so we were able to collaborate and find that common ground to work together on a bipartisan bill that says that if you knowingly call in a fake active shooter threat to our schools in Colorado, that needs to be a felony because then we can get the FBI engaged to track you down and hold you responsible for the trauma that you have caused to our kids, to our schools, to our parents, to our entire community, and we will hold you accountable for that. We will create a safe learning environment for our kids. And so that's an example of how I can work with somebody that the vast majority of the time I disagree with, but we can still find that common ground. We can still find those areas to move the ball forward. And in this particular case, we were able to get that bill passed. If you call in a fake active shooter threat, knowingly call in a fake active shooter threat to our schools in Colorado, we now have the tools and the resources to find you and hold you accountable for that.
There you go again, Gabe Evans, a candidate for Congressional District 8, actually solving problems. Again, you do not understand the function of our government. This is not supposed to be how it works. You're there, you're fixing things, solving problems for people. What do you think you're doing? I tease. That was good. Thank you, sir.
Very impressive. Gabe Evans, the Republican candidate for Congressional District 8. Now, Gabe, we only got you for a few more minutes. I know you're very busy. You're off running, no days off, especially after you win a primary and you now got a big general election in one of the nation's most focused congressional races. We're going to see this November. On Tuesday, you beat a candidate that was endorsed by the Colorado Republican Party, Janik Joshi, by a very big margin. Just yesterday, members of the Colorado State Central Committee have called for Dave Williams to resign. They're going to host a meeting to do so. In light of everything that happened on Tuesday under Dave Williams' leadership, is it time for him to resign?
Politics is about the art of addition, not subtraction. You heard half the spiel already. I give you the other half. What I tell everybody is, look, I know what my principles are. Nobody needs another spineless politician. And I've sworn 3 oaths up to and including my life to stand for my principles. So I know what those principles are, that I'll never compromise. But like we just talked about, I can collaborate with anybody. And here in Colorado, we need to have more of that. We need to have a good, I was actually talking with somebody who tends to be on the other side of the aisle, and that individual was lamenting the lack of a good governing ecosystem, was her word, where you need to have that give and take. You need to have that constructive dialogue and that constructive criticism between 2 parties. And we don't have that right now. Republicans that are a historic low in Colorado. We're in a super minority in the state house. We're 1 vote away from a super minority in the state Senate. We have no statewide elected Republicans anymore. I don't care whether or not you're making frozen pizza or trying to run a state or a country. That level of imbalance, that level of groupthink where one party runs everything, that's just bad. That's bad for business. That's bad for good governance. That's bad for the economy. That's bad across the board. And so we need to get back to focusing on how do we get Republicans elected instead of having as the term goes, a circular firing squad. We need to move away from the circular firing squad. We need to move back toward the big tent Reaganism of how do we find these common ground issues? How do we work to get more Republicans elected? And I think most folks can read the headlines and see how effective the official party was at not achieving those goals this past primary cycle.
Now, Gabe Evans, I want to lean into a little bit on your military career and follow up a little bit on Jeff's question there. The question that we're kind of asking is, Dave Williams, there's kind of a movement right now to remove him from party leadership. With your experience in military, police, and also in governing, do you change battlefield commanders part of the way through the battle? What's your opinion on making the switch now with Williams? Is it helping or could it hurt the Colorado Republican Party?
Well, I can't predict the future there. You mentioned my military experience. You can go back and look through military history, and you can find lots of examples where battlefield commanders were removed in the middle of a campaign. I mean, that was happening in the opening days of going into Iraq in 2003. And sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't work. In this particular case, like I said, we need to get back to big tent Reagan principles. We need to get back to being able to work with anybody that wants to, that believes in the same, small government, free market, empowering parents, border security, community safety messages that we stand for. We need to get back to that. And we need to find somebody that is going to acknowledge that, hey, if you believe in those things, if you, as Reagan said, are an 80% ally, you agree with us 80% of the time, you're an 80% ally, not a 20% traitor. That's the direction that we need to go. And I think that is somebody who has those beliefs is who needs to be leading the Colorado State Republican Party.
Gabe Evans, candidate for Congressional District 8, winning the Republican nomination on Tuesday. He now goes to battle Yadira Caraveo in the general election this November. You can learn more about Gabe Evans by going to his website, electgabeevans.com. That's electgabeevans.com. Very impressive, endorsed by Donald Trump. And I think has a very good shot at flipping Congressional District 8. Thank you so much for joining the Jeff and Bill show and taking all the tough questions, Gabe.
Thanks a lot.
Well, always glad to be on with you guys.
Hey, we'll have you back soon. Thank you, sir. Have a great day.
So that's a race to watch. As we mentioned, you're going to get a lot of national attention on this race and a lot of money coming in on this one. Same thing with Congressional District 3. With Jeff Hurd and Adam Frisch over there. These are the big battles. I think Jeff Crank will very easily lock up Congressional District 5. I think Lauren Boebert will easily lock up Congressional District 4. So the battles over the 50-50 districts will be there. John Fabricatori and Jason Crow is another good one to watch.
Yeah, that's going to be a really good one.
Some big races. Colorado's not totally a blue state.
No, and there was one thing that we had been lamenting, and this is, I'm going to kind of throw a wrench in the works with the machinations that are going on with Dave Williams right now, is one of the things we had been lamenting is candidate quality and the quality of candidates that have been at times put forward by the Colorado Republican Party have been less than stellar. There have been some that have had, wide open weaknesses that were exploited by their opponents. Now, the ones that we have right now, the slate coming out of the primary, look really strong. I like Yannick Yoshi a lot. I enjoyed our conversations, and he would have been really good in the job. But after talking to Gabe, that's my first interaction with him, I get it. I get why he came out as a much stronger candidate. His message is extremely well targeted for that district. That is a point where, regardless of whether or not you agree or disagree with Dave Williams, whoever brought up Gabe and brought him into this, that is exactly the person that you have for that position. That is picking the right wide receiver for your team. That's picking the right lockdown corner for your team. His message can really resonate in that district. The only caveat is he wasn't on the list of the endorsed ones from Dave Williams. And he wasn't on the list. So again,
Gabe essentially saying we need new leadership at the state party.
Yeah, he was. And good messages there. And I think that he's got a really, really strong shot to take that district from Yavir Caraveo, because I believe she won, as you do, in part by default. Because Kirkmeyer, some other votes were siphoned off. And I believe Kirkmeyer, given a one-on-one match, probably walks away with that win. Probably does, but didn't because Libertarian in the race. And I don't think we're going to have that this time. I think Gabe's got a really, really solid shot. And I'm hoping for that.
Text message here from Robin Lakewood. Thanks for having Gabe Evans on this morning. A great candidate with excellent life experience. We can see his appeal, and Billy behaved himself well.
Every once in a while. That was mostly because, Mark, like where they talk about where Donald Trump talks about the shot in the butt. That's Mark did that in the last break. So, he had me calm down.
All right. We got breaking news. U.S. Supreme Court cases, dropping some opinions. We'll cover that and more. You're listening to the Jeff and Bill Show.
News Talk 710 KNUS. Sometimes I behave.
At this hour in the UK, I'm John Beaver, and here are the top stories we're following. President Joe Biden and former President Donald Trump face one another later for the first TV debate of this year's election. Taking place in Atlanta, it's the earliest television debate ever between the two major party candidates in any American presidential election. Border security, immigration and abortion rights are expected to be among the topics that get discussed. Stay with Salem News Channel for special coverage and analysis of the debate beginning at 5 p.m. Eastern. Former Honduran President Juan Orlando Hernandez has been sentenced to 45 years in prison on drug and firearms charges. A one-time ally on the US war on drugs, Hernandez was sentenced at Manhattan Federal Court, having previously been found guilty of paving a cocaine superhighway to the United States that passed through his Central American country. The US soccer legend Alex Morgan has been left out of the Paris Olympics squad. The 34-year-old has been battling for form and fitness after an ankle injury. The omission almost certainly signals the end of Morgan's glittering international career. The US women's team is attempting to rebuild after a disappointing World Cup last year. And that's what you need to know at this hour. I'm John Beaver in the UK on Salem News Channel.
All right, we got some Supreme Court cases breaking here. Ohio versus Environmental Protection Agency. The application for a stay are granted. Enforcement of EPA's rules against the application shall be stayed pending the disposition of the application's petition for review. That's a lot of legal mumbo jumbo.
That is.
They're the two big ones with regards to immunity and for Donald Trump in the January 6th issue are not out today. But they did release the Idaho Supreme Court case with regards to abortion, and it was inadvertently leaked yesterday, and it looks like that was the actual case.
Who's in charge of IT there? It's happened a couple of times
it's
now.
a bunch of legal nerds, man. Come on, they don't know
What
IT.
kind of intern is responsible for Senate? Because again, you're just posting something and it's just a matter of the clock. There's a pull down window that says, post this, and you pick a date and a time and who's messing this up? So
what they inadvertently released yesterday is what they actually released today. And here's a quick summary of the order. The one sentence per curiam order states that the writs of certiorari before judgment are certiorari. Thank you. See,
That's
I'm not even a lawyer.
Latin.
I literally sat down to take the LSAT, Billy, and got back up and was like, no,
no, that's it.
My brain doesn't work this way.
Oh, no.
I don't. Maybe I thought I wanted to be a lawyer. No, I don't want to. I just married one.
That's
Are
a better choice,
dismissed.
honestly, and much easier too to get the lawyer in the family rather than getting it yourself. Just marry it.
Well,
much smarter.
Wait till those arguments come.
You can cross-examine, don't you?
I do. Now, Mr. Hunt, did you or did you not say you were going to do the dishes?
Yes, on the date of June 26th. Did you not say you were going to be responsible for taking the child too? Yes.
Yes. Oh,
I refer
all
to
fun and
Exhibit
games
A's.
until you realize you are outwitted.
Yeah. Oh, that's not fun. That's every day in my house with my wife. Every single day.
So the order means that the case returns to the Ninth Circuit, which had ordered that the appeal of the preliminary injunction be decided en banc on the expedited basis without any further briefing. The order also reinstates the district court's injunction that compels Idaho to allow abortions in any instances in which the life of the mother exception under Idaho's abortion law is narrower than EMTAL's definition. So basically, my sense is reading this is that they're going to continue to allow Idaho at this point until it's figured out legally more, because the facts are changing, to allow for abortions in emergency rooms.
Yeah, that's basically it. They're just saying district court got it right, and we're not going to get into this one. It's kind of it. They're just kicking it back. So yeah, that's okay. That's a decent one. Question I've got for you on this is, why is the immunity decision taking so long? And
I don't get this either. You remember our conversation?
Yeah.
I thought they were going to come out like the next day.
Yeah.
And because they seemed to all want to be providing those types of guide rails that if you do it while you're the president, you have immunity. You do it after the presidency, you don't have immunity.
Think about the one where it was the Colorado case that we were involved in as to whether or not Trump could be on the ballot.
On the ballot.
They turned that one around really quickly. This one, though, I think we're going on over 100 days since arguments or so. I'm not sure if I'm right about that timeline, but we're getting close to 100 days.
Here's some of the analysis I've heard on that, Billy, is that it's so consequential to the actions of the president, right? Because one of the arguments was made, well, could he just get the Navy SEALs to go kill his political opponents?
Yeah.
And basically say, I have immunity.
Yeah. Because I'm acting as president.
Right.
Yeah.
So I think the consequences are so big on the future direction of this country that you gotta cross your I's and dot your T's, right?
Yeah.
you gotta
I can see that.
You gotta get it exactly right. You gotta cross the T's and dot the I's.
And the thing for me is I think that our Supreme Court makes things twice as difficult as they need to be. And there have been some critiques in the past of people that sit outside the court, and one that I heard recently from a federal judge that is recently retired, that the Supreme Court isn't necessarily legislating from the bench, but they are inventing new case law. And his point was they're going outside the purview of the actual case to draw other conclusions and say other things that they really don't have to and don't need to. And the judges idea was, and he wasn't using the immunity, but I'm going to use this as an example. His idea is we have a history of understanding that this can happen when you are the president. The idea that the president has total immunity is complete crap. Stop the silliness. Go back to your chairs. That the existing case law is there to establish they don't have to invent other interpretations, and that's where his conflict was. He said they're inventing all of these causes and rationalities when the case law will do just fine. And that's what I'm afraid of, is that he's right in this case as well, that they are going to be inventing and creating a whole lot of, well, in the history, we're allowed to do X and Y and Z, but you can't do this. And no, just stick to the hardcore case law. And I think the case law would back up that there are certain things the president is not immune for, especially if they're acting outside of what you consider presidential duties. But yeah, so this worries me.
You got some cases that are still outstanding that are very big, in addition to Chevron. Now, I read Neil Gorsuch's book. I have a really funny Neil Gorsuch story, by the way.
Oh, I hear that sometime.
And if you read his book, this is his like legal hill to die on.
Yeah.
If he can get one thing done in his entire career, it is the overturning of Chevron deference.
Yeah.
And what that says is when the legislative body, so the House of Representatives, Senate, pass a law and it's vague, and it's then sent to the executive branch to interpret. The way the law currently writes is that because the executive branch is made up of experts, let's talk about environmental policy, right? In the EPA, you have people that are, experts in anything from, water quality to air quality, that type of stuff. And the legislative branch has been vague. Well, they get to make up rules then.
Yeah.
And what's been argued is that rulemaking is essentially now acting legislative body. This hasn't been debated. It hasn't been voted on. You are just allowing quote unquote experts in the executive branch to just make up rules. And as a result, you have now an overbearing executive branch. It should, if there are debates, it should go to a court to decide, and judges should weigh in. That's what overturning the Chevron deference will do. So you're essentially taking a massive executive branch with rulemaking authority and bringing some type of restraint to it.
Yeah, and I understand the argument on restraint, but I think there's some issues therein, and only because the strange thing is that in the argument, the courts become the experts. And the argument being the experts that are in the field inside the executive branch are overstepping their bounds. So now the expert in the field has to wear a black robe. And I disagree with that, because I don't believe they're the experts. And I don't believe they should be placed in that position to be, okay, now we're going to be the policy experts. Because I could see in the future that the argument will be, well, now the judiciary is doing the same thing the EPA is. Same thing that education is.
All of it stems, Billy, from the fact that our lawmakers don't do it.
Exactly.
That's where it all comes from.
See, this is okay. This okay. Just side note here. I'm going to pause the show for a second. Okay. Now, you listener, this is what makes this show so much fun. Jeff and I come at this from completely different angles. We're looking at it different, but the kernel of where we start is exactly the same. That's why this works, this weirdness that we do every morning, because he's 110% right that this is an abdication of responsibility by the legislature. If the legislature is concerned about the rules being implemented by the executive, they can change them. They can put together very staunch, really restrictive rules on what they want the EPA or any one of these departments to get done. It is their responsibility. And I have a problem with the idea that, well, legislator didn't do it, so I guess the executive branch has to step in and make the rules. And then instead we're like, no, the person in the robe gets to make the rules now. Wait, question here in the back. How about the people that we elect to make the rules do the rules first? Can we start there? Fix that problem first before we worry about which one of the judiciary, the executive, other branches. We're going, the other branches should be making the decision that the legislative branch should be. So exactly. And that's why the weirdness works here.
The best example of how broken the legislative branches are these omnibus spending bills.
Oh, yes.
We can't vote on particular issues. Like we're going to fund defense this way, or we're going to defend provide funding for Medicare.
Funding for
None of that
Ukraine,
stuff.
any of that stuff.
None of that
Yeah.
funding. We roll it all together and throw one big pile of money out there. And I hate that.
Oh, it's awful. And here's the idea is imagine that you are shopping for the family. You have made an entire menu of meals that you are going to put on the family. You're saying, this is what we're going to have for dinner tonight. And this is it, guys. Do you want this? And one of the kids is like, well, I don't like tomatoes that much. The other kid's like, I don't want to eat I don't like that soup. Another one of the kids is like, I'm not a fan of chicken. Okay, you're not a fan of the little things, but we're all going to vote for the menu because if we don't vote for the menu, none of y'all are going to eat. So we got to check.
That's a great description.
That's exactly what happens.
All right, so here's Washington Times providing some analysis on this abortion law because we need it. The Supreme Court delivered a win on abortion to the Biden administration Thursday by erasing an order that had prevented the government from demanding Idaho allow the procedure in emergency situations, despite a state law severely restricting abortions. The justices decided that they had been premature in agreeing to hear the case, saying the facts are still too murky at this point and need more development in lower courts. The ruling also exposed ongoing problems in the court. A draft opinion was briefly posted Wednesday. So off it goes back down to the lower courts and continues to be litigated.
That's what it should.
All right. You're listening to the Jeff and Bill Show.
News Talk 710 KNUS.
Welcome back to the Jeff and Bill Show. Coming up in the 9 o'clock hour, Dustin Zvonek is going to join us. He's the mayor pro tem at large for Aurora. I know he sits on the city council, but I'm going to ask him about what that title means. But I saw this headline in the Denver Gazette. Aurora Council moves forward with plans to stop prosecuting domestic violence.
That sounds weird and so unlike our city council in Aurora. What
They
do
want to
mean?
challenge a state law. Listen to this. Aurora lawmakers on Monday night moved forward with items to deal with the city's handling of domestic violence cases and potentially explore a lawsuit against the state over a new law on indigent defense.
Yeah. Oh, it's so hard to say.
The first of the two is a resolution that directs the city manager, city attorney, court administrator, and presiding judge to collaborate with key stakeholders to create a plan to move domestic violence cases out of the city's municipal court and into county courts instead.
Interesting. My guess to that is we are trying to free up resources and you're trying to adjudicate these cases quicker. That would be my guess, is that they're trying to clean up the backlog. I'm hoping.
It's going to be interesting. I think it has to do with the state law, but I texted my friend Dustin. I said, hey, can you explain that to us? He's happy to join us. So he'll be joining us in the 9 o'clock hour. You're not going to want to miss this conversation about Aurora. You're listening to the Jeff and Bill Show.
News Talk 710 KNUS.
It is 9 a.m. in the Mile High City, and it's the morning of the big debate tonight. Donald Trump versus Joe Biden, 7 p.m. Mountain Time. CNN will be broadcasting it. And by the way, Salem is going to do great coverage ahead and after. So if you tune into the Salem News Network, you can get all those details and watch. This is historic. This is a big one. We as a country have not had two people that have both been presidents of the United States vying for the same office. You've lived under both of their leadership since like the early 1900s or something like that. It's been a long time. So this is a big night, and we've been talking all about it, but tonight with Salem, you can get great network coverage and analysis. So be sure to tune in. And then tomorrow morning, we will clip the spiciest moments and then talk all about it. And you can call in to 710 KNUS and tell us who you think won the debate, who you're going to be voting for. Did anybody change your mind? I would love to hear from you tomorrow morning. So give us a call. First thing tomorrow morning, we'll dive into all those details, plus major U.S. Supreme Court cases likely to be dropped tomorrow. So always going to want to stay close to the Jeff and Bill Show for the best analysis in Colorado on all the issues. In a second, the man himself, Dustin Zvonek, who's mayor pro tem.
What does that mean?
I don't know.
Can we be pro tem?
It's going to be my first question.
Yeah, cool.
He sounds like super legit.
I know.
We always knew he was legit, but now it's like, wow.
I mean,
wow.
dude's a solid guy, and you know the stuff that
City
he's
council,
achieved, and now
yep.
you're like, my pro tem. Does that give you like some sort of special powers? Does he get laser eyes or something? I want laser eyes. I just want to know. What does he get?
Interesting headline coming from the Denver Gazette. Aurora Council moves forward with plans to stop prosecuting domestic violence and challenge the state law. What is this all about? We'll get to that right after the news with Blake Olson. Good morning, Blake.
Hey, good morning, Jeff and Billy. Partly cloudy with 70 degrees outside. Beautiful in Denver. Expecting highs in the low 90s today. The 7-10 5-day forecast is coming up. Our top story, the Supreme Court is dismissing an appeal by Idaho officials that would ban emergency room doctors from performing abortions. This means a lower court ruling that allows doctors to perform abortions in emergency situations will stay in effect for the time being.
Because they want to get him good and strong, so a little before debate time, he gets a shot in the ass, and they want to strengthen him up.
All eyes and ears of politics are shifting to hot Atlanta tonight for a presidential debate. The inferno with President Biden and former President Trump will be on stage at the CNN studios for the first of two major debates ahead of November's election. The 90-minute event ignites at 7 o'clock tonight. Of course, you can hear all the pregame stuff and pre-debate stuff at 5 o'clock, 5:30, and leading up to the debate right here on KNUS.
I can't even imagine him being elected. Can you imagine 4 more years? These are the worst 4 years. Should I be tough and nasty and just say you're the worst president in history? Or should I be nice and calm and let him speak?
And providing more fuel, Joy Reid from Messy NBC.
The thing is, this is the question: are y'all as offended as I am about the fact that it's possible for this person who is a felon and an adjudicated sexual assaulter to stand next to the actual president and give, and we're supposed to take him seriously like that? There's something deeply offensive about that.
She is a great actress. Congressional candidate Gabe Evans joining Jeff and Bill last hour. He's doing well in CD8 and prepping for November.
The exact same motivation that drove me to serve 22 years in military and law enforcement, and I think it worked. I'm in the super minority at the state capitol, but I'm focused on fixing problems to make people's lives better. And even in a super minority, 19 Republicans to 46 Democrats, even in a super minority, I still got almost 60% of my bills passed. And I think that resonates with folks who just want good government, who want to be able to live their version of the American dream in a safe and affordable place.
Last year, 383 people were hospitalized with West Nile in Colorado and 50 people died. Health officials have confirmed Colorado's first West Nile case of 2024. It was in Arapahoe County, and experts say having a case this early in the year is cause for concern, as the first confirmed cases usually don't happen until late summer. So wear bug spray, long clothing, and stay indoors at dusk and dawn. Bellevue, Colorado, the town in Colorado, is suddenly a hot place to visit. Many have been flocking there to see a monolith that popped up on a hill. The shiny structure is over 6 feet tall, about 70 miles outside of Denver.
I was hearing that there was an alien monolith on the hill, and where did it come from, and a whole bunch of questions, and I didn't know. I had to go outside and look for myself.
The woman who owns the land checked it out, and like everyone else is asking, where did it come from? She
I
jokes.
love the people that do this stuff, man.
Right?
I
Same here.
just like randomly they came up with the mind, and it's kind of like looks like a big mirror. And they just put it in a field somewhere.
Yeah, it's on a cement pad though. It's bolted.
Yeah, it
you
is.
know,
It is.
They took a lot of effort to do this.
That's right. And nobody knows, and everybody's talking about it. And how did it get there? And is this aliens and all that? And somebody somewhere is having a heck of a good laugh. And I love it when people do stuff.
Who knows? Maybe there's a business in Bellevue, or a restaurant or something. You know,
Right?
you want to get people to come to your town. That's what you do. I mean, God,
So what
people
could
from
Aurora
all-
do? We're going to ask Dustin that in a second.
Yeah.
You know, let's throw
Yeah.
a little Sasquatch walking around.
Anything with aliens, as long as
That's right.
as long as they're legal.
And with the 17th pick in the 2024 NBA draft, the Los Angeles Lakers select Dalton Connect from the University of Tennessee.
Wow, Dalton Connect from Prairie View High School, Northeastern Junior College in Sterling, and UNC in Greeley, and then Tennessee for a season, now an LA Laker. CU's Cody Williams and Tristan Da Silva also drafted. Nuggets acquire power forward Deron Holmes in a trade. The Astros beat the Rockies 7-1. They take on the White Sox tomorrow. And somehow, Jeff and Billy, I obtained this secret undercover audio this morning. Evidently, CNN's Jake Tapper has been going up to Camp David to help prep President Biden on the debate.
Uh-oh.
It's weird.
That's
I
weird.
mean, it's that, okay. So the audio isn't great. I think
wanna
they're
hear
on
it.
I think they're on a porch.
Okay, Mr. President, here's the first question I'm going to ask. The former president was a lot like Hitler. How difficult was it knowing that a convicted felon who's a dictator was trying to ruin your presidency?
Listen, no joke, folks. I know how it is. I know what it's like to be a human, to breathe. I used to be a human. I used to breathe. Folks, listen. True story. I grew up with all people, whites, blacks, Hispanics, Asians, Puerto Ricans, Greeks, Irish, Italians, Jews, Palestinians, Gentiles, agnostics, atheists, Lutherans, and
then he fell asleep.
See, that's the thing. This is why.
Blake, we can hear them laughing across the hall right
Yes.
now.
I tell you, this is why you have to listen to the show, because Blake does the investigative journalism. Nobody else does.
Right.
No one will do the hard work to get that for you.
Man.
Exactly.
It was
Only
weird.
Blake Olson's news has the kind of sources.
How did I get
has the connections to bring this behind the scenes Biden debate prep to you. This is why we are number one in Denver.
Weird.
Yes.
It's weird, guys. I heard
so
I
strange.
thought I heard the communist anthem in the background. I'm
I
not
think so.
sure.
I think there was
with the
one-
birds chirping and
One of the staffers
everything.
was like, "Comrade."
The only,
Wakey,
the,
wakey.
only thing that was missing was Hunter Biden painting outside, you know.
No, you could-
Exactly.
no, the only reason you could tell, the only way you could tell if Hunter Biden was in the background is if the lighter goes off or he's going. Oh, yeah. It's the only way.
Right.
It's the
I
only way
was
you can tell if
shocked
he's
I
there.
didn't get that part.
Yeah, exactly.
No doubt. All right, guys. Have a great day.
You too.
72 in
Wow.
North Glen, 74 in Englewood, 76 in Denver. and you hear Camp David in the background. Jeff and Bill continue debate Thursday. Blake Olson, News Talk 710 KNUS.
Your KNUS forecast calls for 60s early this Thursday, quickly warming in the 70s and 80s. Highs today and again Friday, generally low 90s. Building afternoon storm clouds, some scattered strong to perhaps a few severe thunderstorms, especially off to the east. Hit and miss storms Friday. Milder Saturday thanks to a passing cool front Friday night. Readings stay in the 80s. It'll be dry to mostly dry, 90s Sunday. I'm meteorologist Mark Huer in the KNUS Weather Center. Weather sponsored by Branch Planning. Some income annuities are paying 25 to 45% more than last year. Get a free retirement review by calling Branch Planning today at 720-651-9800. Find out more at branchplanning.com.
Wow. There you go. The Jeff and Bill show with leaked audio from Jake Tapper.
Yeah, nobody else has that. That's why I listen to the show, because we do the hard work. We have a news department that has sources. Nobody even knows who they are, and neither does the news department. But that's good. That's fine. God, I love Blake. We do not deserve him.
Oh my goodness, that was next level.
Also, did you catch not only that fun thing? The thing that I loved is messy NBC. Dude,
yes,
that's something. That's a Blakeism. That is fantastic. I love that. It's
Text
now in my house is going to be messy NBC
coming
now.
in. I got one word for Blake. Great, all caps.
So good.
Woo,
see, we give you the stories
so
nobody else gives you.
Speaking of greatness, the direction I've said this multiple times on this show. The direction of Aurora has really impressed me.
Yeah,
like you don't normally get communities that improve.
Here's the thing. Okay, I have been
Denver just cycling down.
I have been a Colorado resident my entire life, and I have been an Aurora resident for over 2 decades.
Yeah,
and I grew up as I'm an inner city Denver kid. I ran around downtown. I ran around our park
Scrappy
system.
Billy.
Yeah, it was,
corn pop from downtown.
Yeah, I used to ride the rough, tough, and dirty everywhere. I was a public transportation kid, so I got credentials on running around, and it was difficult for me to admit to my friends that we were moving out into Aurora. And so for years, when people would ask me, well, where do you live? I'd go, Denver. And now, and they say, what is it? I'm like, well, this is Aurora. It's kind of a suburb on the outside. Yeah, but now I can say I live in Aurora,
right?
And I can
it's
say
actually
it proudly.
better. To
Yes.
say that is better than living in Denver.
It is. And on the line is one of the dudes that has helped me be proud about where I live now, and I thank him every day for that. Just not in person, because that would be really weird.
He's doing a great job, Dustin Zvonek. By the way, Dustin, first of all, thanks for being on the Jeff and Bill show.
Yeah.
But Bill and I were having this conversation because we looked you up on the website. It says Mayor Pro Tem of Aurora. We know you're on the Aurora City Council. What does that mean?
Yeah.
It's short for Mayor Pretend.
That's what I do every day.
Yeah. So it is it's a role that you get selected on an annual basis by your colleagues, and it really is. It's the vice president role, right? Where if the mayor, so the mayor in our city form of government, he chairs our meetings. And so if he weren't there, I would chair the meetings. If he's out of town, which he has gone out of town a couple of times this year, I am the acting mayor in that period of time. So that's some of the responsibilities of Mayor Pro Tem. And then we have 9 policy committees: public safety, water, transportation, and so forth. And those you're appointed on an annual basis. The Mayor Pro Tem makes appointments of the other members to those committees. But it's a 1-year gig. I've had colleagues who've done it multiple years in a row. It's you give other colleagues an opportunity to do it. That you obviously fill in for the mayor, even at community events when they're not available. But it doesn't change any other responsibilities. I'm still my primary job is an at-large member of the city council.
Now, the mayor of Aurora is Mike Kaufman, great friend of the show. I think he's doing a fantastic job. So when he's out, do you get to sit at his desk? You get to go, I'm the mayor pro tem.
To do that and leave stuff in his drawers or something that you have to find. I don't do that. I haven't done that. But I did joke with him because he, right after I became mayor pro tem last December, right as we swore in the new council, when we expanded our majority, and he went out of town. He does not leave You've known Mike for a long time. He doesn't take a lot of vacations. This is the hardest working public official in Colorado.
That's exactly right.
He's not gone a lot. But when he is, I told him I was going to do some stuff in the office while he was away, which of course I didn't do.
So, Dustin, I want to ask you about this headline from the Denver Gazette. Aurora Council moves forward with plans to stop prosecuting domestic violence and challenge a state law. This all stems from a meeting that happened on Monday night with a number of resolutions that you helped introduce and author. Can you give us the details of what's happening here?
Yeah, no, when I read, as you read that to me, I'm like, wow, that sounds a lot worse than what's really happening. This is why I brought the resolutions forward. I'm going to start with the no longer prosecuting domestic violence, and then the second one. It's a separate issue, but related in some ways to the state law that we're challenging. So, Aurora is one of only 3 cities that prosecutes domestic violence cases that don't reach the felony level, right? So if it's felony level domestic violence, it automatically goes to the county. Municipal courts don't prosecute any felonies. So we're one of 3 cities that do it. And the other one of those 3 is Denver, of course, which Denver loves to do this kind of stuff. And they're a city and county, and we're not. Lakewood is another city that prosecutes domestic violences. And the reason that I have brought forward the resolution and this idea of a plan of us to stop doing it is that we have Aurora spans 3 counties. The majority of Aurora is in Arapahoe County, but we have a sizable chunk in Adams and just a little bit of Douglas County. So we're going to be in after this January, we'll be in 3 judicial districts, 18th, 17th, and 23rd. Primarily the 18th and 17th. Our courts, by prosecuting these cases, which if you live in fill in the blank city, Pueblo, you live in Parker, you live in Boulder, Fort Collins, any other municipality, any sort of domestic violence case goes to the county. So the counties already do this. It's just us and Denver and Lakewood. And it is a significant subsidy that we provide for the counties because we prosecute all of those non-felony level domestic violence cases. And so it requires us to have more prosecutors in our city attorney's office. It requires us to have more public defenders. It requires us to have more court administration staff. To the tune of nearly $4 million on an annual basis, Aurora's municipal taxpayers are subsidizing the counties by handling these cases. And we don't get anything back for it, right? It isn't like the counties are paying us to do this. And one of the things that I've tried to focus on as a kind of a limited government conservative who serves in local government is to really ask the question, are the things that we're doing the things that city government ought to be doing, right? I mean, every level of government has different responsibilities. And for us, there are things that are very clearly in our wheelhouse, keeping our neighborhoods safe, keeping our roads in good condition. These are important functions of city government. And we have lots and lots of unmet needs. And so when I think about, our city and our taxpayers spending $3 to $4 million a year subsidizing Arapahoe and Adams County primarily, because there aren't many of the domestic violence cases coming out of, the little 2 precincts that we have in Douglas County. So it's primarily Arapahoe and Adams County. We're providing that subsidy for them, and I think we should explore, and that's what this resolution does, not doing that any longer, and then instead redirecting those resources to things that we need. We need to invest more in infrastructure. We need to invest more in public safety, and that's where those resources ought to be spent.
Have you gotten any word back from Arapahoe and Adams County leaders? Are they okay with this, or are they opposed to it?
Yeah, of course, they oppose it. As you can imagine, they're like, hey, we're broke. We don't have any money and we can't do this. But this would force them to, look, we're providing them a direct subsidy. And of course, if they already do it, like I said, if you're in Centennial or Littleton or anywhere else in Arapahoe County, if it is a non-felony level domestic violence case, it goes to the county. It's just those that happen in the incorporated parts of the city of Aurora that come to our courts. And, so of course they say they can't do it. But candidly, my response to them is this is something that they should prioritize and that they should fund. And if they don't want to take them on, then they should come to us and talk about potentially, looking at some sort of an IGA where they would help cover some of the costs. But I just don't think that putting it on the backs of Aurora taxpayers is something that we should consider doing without having a bigger conversation. And like I said, I think we have too many unmet needs as a city, and I don't want to just reflexively go and ask for more taxes to meet those needs when we have things like, prosecuting domestic violence cases, which again, no other city does this. I shouldn't say no other city, but the majority of other cities don't do it, and for a reason. And so I the plan is the resolution calls for our city manager, city attorney, court administrator, and chief judge to bring forward a plan of how we would, if we were to continue down this road, unwind that process, where we would stop taking cases into our courts, and then continue to process those that are in the system until they're through. And I think there's another, I think, an added benefit to this is that we actually don't charge people with domestic violence in our courts. It's assault, and so there is some stickiness to repeat offenders that doesn't take place the way that it would if it goes to a county court. And I think that, so there was a bill actually in the legislature to prevent municipal governments from continuing to do this for that very reason. So I think there is, some victims protection that will be added by doing this. And again, ultimately, my responsibility is looking out for the taxpayers of the city of Aurora. And I think this is a great way for us to free up resources to address some of the real needs that we have.
What's the response from other city leaders on the city council and from the mayor on this?
The mayor is supportive of it. I believe I have, fairly confident I have a majority of my colleagues in support of it. When I initially brought it forward, it's a big change. And of course, whenever you introduce anything that's a big change, there's always, some hesitation, which is why I pulled back on just bringing forward a resolution or an ordinance that would have put it into law, and instead started with a resolution that would direct the city staff, senior city staff, to bring forward a plan to show us that path. I did put timelines on it, so they have to present it to us by, it's the August 20-something study session, and then we'll go forward. But I think that as I, have talked to my colleagues individually, and then of course in that study session, they recognize that the enormous subsidy that we're providing the counties. And meanwhile, Arapahoe County is about to go out for another tax increase. They are always, claiming they're broke, and yet they're shutting down oil and gas operations that would bring, significant sums of tax revenue to the county. Of course, they're in this windfall of property tax revenue as a result of the repeal of Gallagher. So I don't have a lot of sympathy for governments that are spending money on stuff they shouldn't be. And if this forces them to prioritize that, I really don't care, because, like I said, I have a fiduciary responsibility to my residents.
We're talking with Dustin Zvonek. He's the mayor pro tem of Aurora, also serves as the at-large, serves as at-large on the Aurora City Council. Dustin, you're also suing the state. What's the lawsuit over?
Yeah, so the lawsuit, this past legislative session, Mike Weissman ran a bill, and it was directly targeted at us. And there's no way to say it, that's just as direct as I can be. It was directed at the city of Aurora, and I'll give you a little bit of history. Last year, I had looked at the possibility of, so we have an in-house public defender's office in the city for our municipal courts. Again, only a few cities, and Denver being one of them again, actually have this same practice where they have in-house public defenders. All of the other cities, big cities, Colorado Springs, second largest city in the state, Pueblo, Fort Collins, Boulder, all of them, they contract for that service. So there are obviously state and constitutional requirements for people who are eligible to receive public defense to in fact get public defenders, but they contract with outside firms, or even with the Alternative Defense Council, which is the state level, to provide that service, and at a much reduced cost to the cities. As you can imagine, and you know this, if you have employees of the city, they have benefits. We pay them for their time off. We pay them for vacations. Whereas if you do it on a fee for service basis, you still can provide the same level of representation, but at a lower cost. And again, I'm constantly looking for ways that we can better utilize the budget that we have to meet our needs, as opposed to trying to go and ask taxpayers for more. And so this was an idea that was actually brought to, the former mayor of Colorado Springs, John Suthers, and I were having a conversation when I first got elected, and he brought this issue to my attention. So I brought forward a plan to try to privatize, if you will, our public defender's office. And Mike Weissman ran a bill this last session that said any city that prosecutes domestic violence, and remember I told you there's only a few of them that do it, cannot go out and do a flat fee or pay for flat fee service for public defense. Guess who that impacts? There's
Aurora.
a lot of cities in Colorado.
Right,
There's only
those three.
one.
Yeah.
Yeah, and the others don't do that. The others already have it. So Lakewood actually, I think, will join this lawsuit. So, and I'm not suing just over that issue. I mean, it was an important issue to us. I think the crux behind what I've directed our city attorney to look at is, again, this home rule local control issue. One of the great things about Colorado is the constitutional protection that we have for home rule local governments, home rule cities, home rule counties, that doesn't allow the state to just trample all over us. And what we've seen from this legislature and frankly from this governor is a constant attempt to erode that constitutional protection. And so on this issue, it just happens to be an issue that I was involved with and that we're also looking at with, removing domestic violence is from our court. But as I said, that put that aside, we should always, in every circumstance, stand up and fight for local control. And, what we're doing is having our attorneys look at what a lawsuit could look like against the state over this, because it was just rammed through. It was a late bill. Of course, they have super majorities, and the governor signed it. So we will likely team up with Lakewood and potentially CML, Colorado Municipal League, and see if they're interested in joining the litigation. I don't know how successful, just again, given our state courts, but I think that we always have to fight whenever these types of issues come up and there's an erosion of local control.
Now, Dustin Zvonek, Aurora City Council member at large, and Aurora Mayor pretend. Oh, sorry, I misread that. It's a pro tem.
Yeah,
I think that makes it
that
gets
was right.
laser
That's
eyes. Yes. Now, I want you to kind of explore a little bit with us the idea of a fiduciary responsibility to the Aurora community and to your voters. That is something, when you were talking to us, struck me as something very unique and different as far as an approach. And I'm comparing and contrasting the approach of Denver Mayor Mike Johnston, where Johnston is coming to the table saying, I'm going to find all of the monies. We will have all this largesse, and I'm going to complain when the feds don't give me more money for my overspending. For me, as a parent of 4 kids, sounds like my kid off at college saying, hey, I went to the bar so much and now I can't go to the grocery store. I get a little upset. Talk to myself, to Jeff, and the listener about how important it is for the elected officials to respect that fiduciary responsibility, how it guides your decision-making, and why it has been so important in Aurora's turnaround. Please.
Yeah, no, look, I think it's foundational at any level of government, right? I mean, I wish we had, more clearly. I think that the fiscal disaster in DC is just, it's so out of control. It's hard to wrap your mind around how you could ever, return to normalcy. But I think that when you look at an organization, any level of government, a county, state, city, you look at their budget, you can see their priorities. And that's one of the things I ask myself all the time whenever we're making decisions, is that when we spend money, are we addressing our priorities for our residents, right? And again, thinking it through, looking at it through the lens of what should cities be doing and not be doing. And so there are things like prosecuting domestic violence is incredibly important to do. Is it our responsibility or is it the counties? And I believe it's the counties. And that's why I think that, as I mentioned, we have real responsibilities to our residents. Things like dealing with our homeless population, dealing with, Aurora is, I know you said you've lived here for 20 years, you know how big this city is and has become. And we have lots of roads to maintain. We have, as our city expands further east, I mean, we need a new police department out east. We need more fire stations. Like, these are things that city voters, city residents expect their cities to provide. And what I've seen, and Denver is a great example of this, is they create a sense of urgency that, like, oh my gosh, we've run out of money because we've spent our money on all of this other stuff. But we need these really important things like fire stations and police stations. So give them more money, and they go to the ballot and they raise taxes. I want that to always be the very, very last thing that we do. And in fact, I said this when I first got elected to council, and I remember in the debate when I was running, one of the reporters who was moderating the debate said that my road plan, which was to make up the backlog of road maintenance, neighborhood road maintenance, they had been there since 2008. I said that we could address it without raising taxes and put ourselves in a position going forward that we would never find ourselves in that again. And they like laughed at me. Well, that plan passed, and we put it into place, and we did exactly that without raising taxes. And so the idea of thinking of your role as an elected official and having that fiduciary responsibility to your taxpayers, to your residents, if everybody did that at every level of government, we'd be in a much, much better place financially as a country.
Dustin Zvonek, Aurora City Council member at large. I want to just take a moment because this is very, very important. In the state of Colorado, the Republicans and Democrats have essentially created trench warfare when it comes to policy issues, right? Republicans really can't get anything done. Democrats have total control. And when it comes to those debates over the policy issues, it doesn't feel like Republicans can really get anywhere in this state. We demonstrate that conservative ideas are right at local government. When Dustin Zvonek and Mayor Mike Kaufman and the other conservatives in Aurora have led the city, they have created a very clear distinction with more progressive-led cities that conservative ideas at the end of the day just simply work better. And I can't think of a better argument in our state as to why we should have more conservatives in leadership than what we've seen happen in Aurora. Dustin, I want to thank you for the great work you're doing there. I want to thank all the city council members, Danielle Jurinsky, all those that are great friends of the show that are leading. I mean, think about this, guys. Think when you go and you think about San Francisco and Los Angeles and Denver and Portland, what seems like a constant downward spiral. And then you have cities like Aurora that are getting better and better and better because of their commitment to their local communities and to advancing conservative public policy ideas in the public square. They're working. Dustin, thanks so much for being on the show and for all the great work you're doing.
Yeah, thank you so much.
I appreciate it. Yeah, I appreciate being on.
You are part of the reason, Dustin, that I can now say Aurora proudly. I sure appreciate all the hard work. But again, I don't think you figured out how this government thing works. You just talked to us about how you could solve problems without raising taxes. Don't you understand that all of our money is also the government's money? At least that's what the Dems have been telling us for like 8-9 years now, my friend. I appreciate you. Thank you.
Yeah.
Have a great day. Thanks.
So Dustin Zvonek, Aurora City Council member at large and Mayor Pro Tem, on the show about some of the ideas he's trying to implement there and addressing some of the headlines. So
that'll be really
great.
Cool. Yeah,
great.
That's a good conversation.
In our stations in Aurora, so
that sure helps. Yes,
it does.
It does. And it was great when he was talking about the roads because I've experienced that. He referenced again the fact that I've been here for over 2 decades. When I moved out into this part of Aurora where I live currently, one of the major roads, Hamden, was a dirt road less than 5 minutes from my house.
Yeah.
If you went east 5 minutes away from where I lived, it was a dirt road.
Yep.
Now it is fully paved, highly traveled, and gets everybody to Southland, which again didn't exist.
When Dave Williams became chairman of the Colorado Republican Party, and look, Dave's a friend. I'm friends with everybody. I'm friends with Kelly Maher. In this whole Civil War thing, I don't really pick sides. But when Dave became chairman, I said to him, focus on local.
Yeah.
Like we are in trench warfare when it comes to abortion. We're just, we're not going to get the pro-life policies advanced in the state anytime soon.
Yeah.
So if we want to win, we demonstrate that by winning locally and then proving that we can lead better than the other side.
Yep. And how that has worked out in Aurora is a crystalline example of exactly that, because you had avowed socialists on the Aurora City Council. And the voters said, okay, you sounded good during the campaign, but when you got in to do the job, You're freaking crazy. And they immediately tacked not just back to the middle, they tacked right. And they put they didn't just replace the socialists, they gave more seats to conservatives. And look what's happening now. Now, even me, the unaffiliated, can proudly say, I am a resident of Aurora. And that's Mike Kaufman, and that is our city council. And I appreciate him.
You know, speaking of really good guys, Dan Kaplis, I want to talk to you about him and his law firm. I've known Dan for well over a decade. Dan is pro-life, pro-family, pro-America. He shares our values here at this station. That matters because who you choose to represent you tells a lot of people involved in the case who you are and what you stand for. Dan Kaplis is the son of a police officer. He's also a former seminarian, and he has dedicated the last 40 years of his life to helping people who are hurt in serious motor vehicle crashes. Dan is also believed to be the only lawyer in Colorado history to win 5 straight multi-million-dollar verdicts in Colorado crash cases. Not only is he with us on the values and stands with us, he is a titan in the courtroom. He is believed to have won the largest truck crash verdict in Colorado history. We had that caller earlier today, Billy, that said, everybody knows if you're hurt, you call Dan Kaplis. Dan Kaplis Law is the official law firm partner of the Denver Nuggets and the Colorado Avalanche. Dan Kaplis Law is a serious firm. For serious cases, Dan accepts righteous injury cases on a percentage fee basis so that he can represent good people from all walks of life without regard to ability to pay. If you need Dan's help, give him a call, 303-770-5551, or hit dankaplislaw.com. That's Dan, CAPLIS law.com. All right, we'll continue with your calls. Gene, you're up next. Give us a call if you'd like. Debates tonight. What do you want to see? 303-696-1971. You're listening to The Jeff and Bill Show.
News Talk 710, KNUS.
At this hour in the UK, I'm John Beaver, and here are the top stories we're following. A new poll has found most US adults plan to watch or listen to some element of tonight's presidential debate. In New York, Haley Bianco has more on the findings.
It'll be all eyes on the TV tonight as Americans tune in for the high-stakes debate between President Joe Biden and former President Donald Trump. A new poll by the Associated Press NORC Center for Public Affairs Research finds the Democratic incumbent and the presumptive Republican nominee remain broadly unpopular as they prepare to spar for the first time since 2020. Nearly 6 in 10 U.S. adults say they are extremely or very likely to watch, read, or listen to commentary about the debate. The debate begins at 9 p.m. Eastern from CNN's studio in Atlanta. We took to the streets of New York City to hear why these voters will be watching.
What they say and what they don't say will affect my vote.
The reason that it is important for me to tune in is because it's going to be affecting my livelihood going forward in the future.
To me, it's more what they're have for the American people.
Reporting in New York, I'm Haley Bianco, Salem News Channel.
Tune in tonight as Salem News Channel presents a full night of special coverage and analysis of the presidential debate. SNC's special coverage begins at 5 p.m. Eastern on Salem News Channel. And that's what you need to know at this hour. In the UK, I'm John B.
Tonight's the big night. Is it going to be a well-mannered policy discussion among two intellectual titans? Or a rumble in the jungle?
Did you just say intellectual titans? Have you been paying attention? Did you just wake up from a coma?
Excuse me, Mr. Biden. I disagree with the direction of our tariffs and would like to add 2.3%.
I think the former president has misspoken. He is not acquainted with it. Come on.
Where's Blake also when you need him?
I know. Where is he?
What's it going to be tonight? What do you think? Give us a call, 303-696-1971.
You know what I want?
By the way, go ahead.
Okay, you know what I want? This is what really should happen in the presidential debate. We need to combine the usual presidential debate with the old Nickelodeon show Double Dare.
Yes.
And every 10 minutes, there should be a physical challenge.
Yeah.
We can always decide what it is, but it's like the idea of, okay, now quick, you have 3 minutes to open all of these jars. And then you put up a picture, say, okay, quick, name all of these extended family members. Can you remember your family? There are lots of things we could do here.
That would be fun. I would also like 2 vats of the Nickelodeon slime.
Yes, the slime.
And whoever got the most votes to be slimed would.
Oh my God. Yes.
And you have until the end of the debate to text in.
Oh, that is so
Could you
smart.
imagine the level of audience engagement?
Yeah,
People texting and then
be
calling their friends.
amazing.
No, we can't have Trump slime.
That would be
we can't
amazing.
have Biden slime.
Okay, side note. I'm going to take us off on a side note. Do you remember where the green slime came from on Nickelodeon? You're probably too young
No.
to remember the original TV show. It came from on Nick.
Double Dare?
No, it came from a Canadian import. It was a Canadian show they brought into America through Nickelodeon, and it was called You Can't Do That on Television. And it was a sketch show with young kids.
Wow.
Yeah, it was a little kid sketch show, and the whole idea was that someone over the course of the show was going to get slimed. And usually it was one character. Now here's where we're going to close the really weird Bill nerd circle as far as music knowledge. One of those former actresses on You Can't Do That on Television, Alanis Morissette. And Alanis got slimed quite a bit. But again,
that's where her song comes from.
Exactly.
Right? Lament.
Yeah, and ironic.
We're going to get to Gene here in just a second. We'll talk to you all about Ultracur. Look, there's plenty of curcumin products that are on the market out there, but they're going to make you pay to try. Ultracur believes so much in their product, they don't need you to do that. They're willing to give away free trials of it to see if it helps you. So what is Ultracur? Well, it's a curcumin supplement that helps you to experience wellness, overcome pain you may be facing. I'm thriving, fighting back my workout soreness with Ultracur. A lot of us in the office use it. It's a patented non-prescription natural capsule that works fast. You can experience Ultracur for free. All you have to do is go to any Denver Metro Natural Grocers, ask for the health coach or the vitamin manager for your free 3-day trial of Ultracur. Get curious, Denver. Head to Natural Grocers. Grab your free 3-day Ultracur trial with no strings attached. If you're wondering about the research, well, you can get the lowdown at getultranow.com. That's getultranow.com. Let's see. We got a text message here. I'd like to see President Trump question Biden as to why our southern border is completely open to all illegals and resulting in drug trafficking and criminals entering our country. I think that's going to be the top question, along with the economy, President Trump's going to focus in on. Let's go to Gene. Line 1, you're on the Jeff and Bill Show. Good morning, Gene.
Hey, good morning, you guys. How you doing today?
Good. How are you?
Good. I want to, first of all, the statement I'm about ready to make, I don't have any proof, and this is for Bill's sake, because I know he's going to ask me that.
I don't have any. Thank you.
But anyway, this is not a debate. This is a setup. They're going to try to dirty Trump up as much as they can, and they're going to try to build Joe Biden up like a rock star. And they're going to claim that Biden won the debate, hands down. And the reason I don't know this, but the reason I suspect is because the last debate with Hillary Clinton and Trump, Donna Brazile fed Trump or Hillary questions to that debate. And I think the same thing is going to happen here, is that Biden knows what questions he's going to be asked, and he's been preparing for these questions to give all-star answers to these things, and they're going to try to ask Trump some, real controversial questions and try to put him in a box and do all this. And this, like I said, I don't have any trust in this, that this is, the American people are going to learn anything from this.
Okay, Gene, I got a question for you. I appreciate at the beginning you said, because of Bill and I don't have the proof. So I'm going to say we're going to pretend right now that you are 110% right, that they have given Joe Biden the questions, everything else. And what I'm going to ask you is, how can we tell when we're watching tonight? What are you looking for? What can you, myself, Jeff, and the listener look out for during tonight's debate to prove your premise that Biden, the fix is in and that Biden's there? I'm just going to assume that you're right. How can we tell tonight? What do you think we're going to see?
I'm really glad you asked that question, because if you watch how fluid his answers are, Biden, where he doesn't stumble, or he speaks clearly and forcefully and doesn't confuse the issue and doesn't, lose his train of thought and do all that kind of stuff. I think those are primary things to look for when he's talking, because every other time you watch him talk, he gets confused, he mumbles, he stumbles, I think, but if he's fluid, and it's an obvious sign it's been rehearsed.
Okay, Gene, this is what I'm going to do. I don't mean to cut you off right now, but I'm going to give you the very special. Now, we only do this every once in a while. I'm giving you the very special Jeff and Bill show pass. You are going to be allowed to call us back tomorrow, and I want to continue this conversation, and let's talk about if we saw that idea that Biden was too prepped, that we think the fix is in. I'm going to get on board with you, and I'm going to assume, yes, let's play, and let's see if we can do that. So can you watch this tonight and give us a call back tomorrow? And you're the only person this week and last month I've given this card to, man. Can you call us back tomorrow?
I will.
Cool,
All
man.
right,
All right,
thanks,
thank you.
Gene.
Have a
In
good
fact,
day.
would
Look
like
forward
to
that.
hear from a lot of folks tomorrow. So watch the debate and let us know who you think wins. Want to talk to you all about Roll 'em Out shelves and my friends Joyce and Brent Tolliver. We've had them over to our house. First of all, they're wonderful people, pro-America, pro-family, pro-faith. We had great conversations. They're a lot of fun. It's like having your mom and brother over. Then we got to work, and they helped revolutionize our kitchen. We love it. Everything now is so accessible, and they provide these roll them out shelves, these Baltic birch shelves. They're built right here in Colorado, very sturdy, and it allows you to easily access all your items. It's totally changed our kitchen. We absolutely love it. You got to check them out. Give them a call, 303-475-9601. That's 303-475-9601, or visit rollemoutshelves.com. Be sure to tell them Jeff sent you. Rollemoutshelves.com. Great sponsor. Totally changed our kitchen. You'll be able to access everything. All right, we'll continue. Up next, we're going to get close to a little commentary provided by Cal Thomas. You're listening to The Jeff and Bill Show.
News Talk 710 KNUS.
Absolutely great show today on the Jeff and Bill Show. If you missed any of it, we talked debate prep. We talked about the migrants coming over, 50 of them connected with ISIS that DHS can't find. Oh, my goodness. All of that, plus Gabe Evans and Dustin Zvonek. Go to 710knus.com to download the podcast. But we'll be watching the debate tonight. We want your commentary tomorrow. So be sure to tune in. You've been listening to the Jeff and Bill Show.
News Talk 710 KNUS. Get out your bingo cards.
Cal Thomas is next.